right, what do you got?
I think I can prove to a judge that both of these men had the mens rea.
What the hell is a mens rea?
It's a legal term the lawyers use. It just means the intention to commit a crime.
Okay, come on, let's go.
Mens rea?
Put the cuffs on him.
How could we have gotten mens rea? We take blood? Can you do it without taking blood? We both use condoms. How is this possible? I want to see a doctor. Can I have an independent blood test?
Money!
I feel sick.
What are you doing?
Mens rea! Oh! Oh! My God! No!
Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you doing? What are you all doing? It's me, Legal Vices. We've just figured it's been a long time since I saw you about 30 seconds ago or a minute and a half ago over on the other stream. We finished up that stream and we are here now for the Wisconsin v. Zachariah Anderson murder trial. All right. Well. Uh-oh. Shit. Hang on. I've got to bump out of this studio here real quick. Hang on. I'll be right back. All right. Hi again, everybody. Good. Now I can see your chat. I had it set up so I couldn't see your chat. And you could see my happy smiling face, but I couldn't see your chat. There we go. All right. The court has not started yet. And Strawberry's back there wondering what Strawberry's going to be doing. So let's show you what we've got going here so far. Boom. This is it. That's all. Still waiting. They haven't started their stream yet. So whenever they start their stream. And all right, so while we're waiting for them to figure out what they're doing and getting their stuff together, let's see. We'll just take it all the way off. We don't. Y'all can stare at my happy smiling face. We didn't have time earlier today to groom the stash, so we're a bit unkempt. All right, so those of you that are just joining us here for the first time and don't know anything about this case, and I hope there's a bunch of you because Murdoch's coming to an end and y'all need something to do, so I hope you're here. Interesting. All right. There's still nothing going on over there. Just kind of watching it. Their chat is ridiculous. Okay, as I was saying, for those of you that don't know anything about this trial, this is the trial of a man named Zachariah Anderson. He has 3 children with a woman, Sadie, and her last name Beecham. Sadie Beecham is her name. Sadie Beecham has 3 children with Sadie Beecham, longtime girlfriend. Apparently, allegedly, according to the prosecution, they broke up. And she found a new boyfriend. And the prosecution want us to believe that makes Zachariah, her ex-boyfriend, extremely jealous. So he starts buying cell phones and other things to track her. He uses like a burner phone as a tracking device. He allegedly sets up recording devices all over the place so he can eavesdrop on her. And he's super jealous. So what he does is he goes there while she's away and allegedly beats him to death with a blunt object, perhaps a baseball bat, out of jealousy. That's the prosecution's theory of the case. However, the prosecution may have some problems with that, because there is no blood on him, no blood on anything he owns. There's no DNA. No murder weapon has been recovered. There's no body. That's one of the things he's been charged with, hiding a corpse. He's been charged with murder, first degree murder, intentional homicide, I believe. First or second, I think it's first. First degree murder. Guess what it would be. Dang, the second charge skips my mind right now. But the third charge is the hiding a corpse. So the prosecution wants you to believe that he beat him to death with a blunt object. There's no evidence that he was directly there. None of the cameras on any of the stores or houses in the area showed his van coming or going. Again, there's no body, there's no weapon, there's no DNA on anything he owns. But the prosecution would have you believe that he went shopping at Walmart for plastic bags, plastic gloves or rubber gloves, bleach, rope, and things like that. Oh no, Bass, you can't do that. Diagram of Paul Murdoch. Ouch, that's brutal. Let's bring up Chandler Remington. Chandler,
hello,
back
hello.
in the house. Howdy.
Hello.
Now, like way better than it did a minute ago in OJ.
What's that?
Your audio sounds way better than it did back for OJ.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I appreciate all of the bearing with me through the technical difficulties.
So whatever you did between 2 minutes ago and now, it really improved the audio quality. I can
Okay.
hear you now. That's a good thing.
Good.
So yeah, but what it turns out, and they said, oh, he was like the night of the murder, he was searching on his telephone for what stores, what time all of the stores open in the morning to see which one opens earliest. And then he went and bought, the cleaning supplies, the bleach and the gloves and whatnot. And then he went out to a remote work site where they were demolishing a house. And then he disappeared for 3 hours. Well, at the beginning of the defense's opening statements, they said, well, yeah, it was the beginning of COVID. He had to go to work early, so he was trying to get some of the cleaning stuff for his work. And so he was interested in which store opened the soonest so he could get out to the job site quickest. And he didn't buy bottles of bleach, apparently. He bought packages of the Clorox bleach hand wipes, the antibacterial wet towels, wet tissues that everybody was buying at the beginning of COVID. And the reason he went out to the remote work site where they're demolishing a house is because that was his job. He was demolishing that particular house. And then the defense also asserts that during that period of time where they said he was gone and missing for 3 hours, he was actually going to another town and picking up his tax returns. And they'll bring in witnesses to testify that he was there in this other town getting his taxes. And so the defense was doing very, very well until the near mistrial happened. Don't know if everybody saw it, but again, this is a retrial. The first trial was last year. The prosecution gave their opening statement. The defense gave their opening statement. Then the defense promptly and immediately requested a mistrial because they alleged that the prosecutor, this is the DA himself, he did not turn over important evidence to the defense. The prosecutor, the district attorney himself, did not turn over evidence that should have been turned over to the defense, and they won a mistrial. Okay. Now they brought it up again, and halfway through the defense,
before I bring the jury down,
they
anything before I bring down the
prosecution requested a mistrial.
Want to do that after?
Because they said that the defense lawyer, she made an error in specifically designating a second suspect without giving the prosecutor fair notice, and which they shouldn't do. You can say someone else did it, but if you say Chandler Halderson did it, not my client, you have to give the prosecution advance notice of that so that they can prepare questioning and investigate whether or not Chandler did it.
When the warrant went out, she is
so they had a big back and forth about that, and they eventually decided yesterday not to declare a mistrial, but they're going to give instructions to the jury.
So
we don't know
to allow that to be dismissed at this point. And
we don't know what it will be. what the instruction will be,
No
but it'll
comment?
probably be
No comment.
disregard everything that they say is not evidence. All right, they're bringing the jury in. They're bringing the jury in right now. And that's the prosecutor over here. And this is the defense lawyer over here. And the judge in this case is Bruce Schroeder, who was the judge for the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. So this is the Rittenhouse judge. And Flux, just a bunch of respectful degenerates here waiting for the great trial. Mocha-Dick Poon, Panzer Prison. Thank you. Thank you, Flux.
Yes, will you come down, please?
Jury is on the way.
I love Judge Schroeder. Maybe we'll get another "Don't Get Brazen with Me" moment. I don't know.
Yeah. So no Steve did it? Well, we don't know who did it. Could have been. Could have been Steve. We don't know. She's dressed like Amber Heard. She's a very, very good lawyer. Don't sully her her good name like that.
She's not Amber Heard, but I can see from far away that one outfit she wore, same cream colored kind of ensemble. The hair is not as elaborate though. Definitely a little more understated.
And this is the defendant, Mr. Anderson. I'll never stop saying that.
Oh, he has a man bun. He's guilty.
And that's literally what everybody says in chat for the last 3 days.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
The man bun. It always points to wow, that's like a tiny little bun too. It's cute.
You like tiny
Better
buns,
to
do you? You like tiny buns on men, do you?
Oh!
I don't even know if you like men. I'm not gonna. I don't even know if you like men. I'm not gonna make any assumptions. I don't know.
I do. I don't know.
I don't even know how to define. I don't know what a man is. I'm not a biologist.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Well, neither am I. Although I did study biological anthropology.
And the attorneys consulted, and
I like tiny cinnamon buns.
it's decided that
The Cinnabon minis.
the objection was.
We're gonna have to boost the volume.
Mr. Gravely has been withdrawn. So we'll continue where we were. Lord, thank you.
Looking
They
strapping
didn't
with
give
his
the
yellow
jury
tie.
instructions.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, that's weird.
So where I had left off when I last was speaking with you all was about how law enforcement in this case failed to actually investigate the events the state assert transpired on May 17th, 2020. How they ignored leads, how they didn't follow up on things, how they failed to look in places that should have been looked into. So I'm going to go into some of those investigative failures now. You'll hear that law enforcement really did no searches of Mr. Gutierrez around the immediate vicinity of Wood Creek Apartments, where Mr. Gutierrez lived. That there's a wooded park area that is property of UW Parkside, and that all that they did with that area was send some drones to look around. But you'll hear that it was forested at that point because we're in the middle of May, and that they would not have been able to see the floor of that entire wooded area. So law enforcement looked nowhere close to Mr. Gutierrez's residence in an attempt to find potential evidence. Not only did they fail to do that, they failed to investigate legitimate Crime Stopper leads. So people could call in with tips, anonymous or not, and there was this one
Just
tip
the tips.
where an individual called in and said, I saw a woman standing in front of Mr. Gutierrez's sliding door on that concrete slabbed patio on May 18th, 2020. And I remember this because she had asked me what time it was.
Support Weinstein,
and I knew
apparently.
it was Mr. Gutierrez's apartment because his sliding door is right next to that exit door. Law enforcement got that information and ignored it. They did not
Used to
follow
blend her
up.
bronzer.
They also didn't follow up on data that they obtained through a geofence warrant. And you'll hear that a geofence warrant is where law enforcement takes a certain area and asks Google to produce all the information and data on people that they know were in that location on a specific date and during specific time frames. And in this case, Detective Carrera had asked for the geofence data on all individuals who were around Mr. Gutierrez's apartment from May 17th, 2020 at 7 p.m. through May 18th, 2020 at 3 a.m. And that Google produced several hits for people that were in that area. And you'll hear that law enforcement did not attempt to investigate any of those potential people who were in the area at the time the state asserts the crime occurred. You'll also hear that Mr. Anderson did not appear in that data. When law enforcement arrived on scene on May 19th, 2020, there were two dumpsters next to Mr. Gutierrez's apartment, and they had gone and looked at them and noticed that there really was not that much trash. Maybe a bag, a box. And so they called the waste management company and they asked, hey, when was this trash picked up? And the waste management individuals had informed them that the trash had been picked up earlier that morning on the 19th and that it was sent to Zion landfill in Illinois. You'll hear that law enforcement chose not to go to Zion landfill and search what would have been freshly dumped garbage that could have produced evidence in this crime. And you'll hear that that could have been because Mr. Anderson, the person, remember, that they had chose as their main character, there was no indication that he had ever gone out to Zion or that he had spent any significant time in the Kenosha area. Didn't fit their script. They weren't going to investigate it. They also didn't investigate Pheasant Run landfill. That was a landfill that they had potential information that Mr. Gutierrez's body had been dumped there. They didn't go to Pheasant Run landfill. They didn't talk to anyone in management at Pheasant Run landfill to see whether there was any individual who dumped off trash that Monday, May 18th, that morning. They did not investigate that lead. They also didn't investigate people that Mr. Gutierrez owed money to. And you'll hear throughout this case that Mr. Gutierrez was in an extremely difficult financial situation. His mom was helping paying bills. He was about to be evicted from his apartment. And he had people messaging him about where their money is and how you don't do this to friends. And you'll hear that law enforcement did not investigate a single person that he seemed to owe a substantial amount of money to. And then they also didn't look into all of the women that Mr. Gutierrez would have been talking to or dating at that time. You'll hear that Mr. Gutierrez had several dating apps. They were located on his phone. He had emails from dating websites, and that law enforcement didn't look into any of the chat strings on there. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. What I just outlined for you is just a little sprinkle of an example of everything that law enforcement failed to investigate. But not only did they fail to investigate legitimate leads and potential other suspects, they also failed to effectively process the scene of the crime. They failed to obtain DNA swabs, fingerprints from areas that, according to their theory, the individual or individuals who was responsible for the disappearance of Mr. Gutierrez would have had to have touched or come in contact with. The first thing law enforcement did when they arrived on scene on May 19th, 2020, was they took a video of them walking into the apartment, of Mr. Gutierrez's apartment, and all of the lights were off. So the state claims that there was this blunt force trauma, this beating, someone was wrapped up in a rug, the crime scene was meticulously cleaned up so that no trace of the other people who were there could be found, that then the scene is staged to the point that it looks like a robbery could have occurred. That obviously didn't happen all in the dark if they're claiming that this happened around 10 p.m. at night. Yet law enforcement did not swab the light switches in the apartment for potential DNA, nor did they attempt to get any fingerprints.
What?
In addition to their failure to obtain
I'm sorry.
areas that could have contained DNA of the people who are actually responsible for Mr. Gutierrez's disappearance, their lack of precision shows immensely in the fact that 9 days after they initially made contact with Mr. Gutierrez's apartment, Mr. Gutierrez's mother, Ms. Patterson, found Mr. Gutierrez's cell phone in the freezer. That law enforcement's there for
That's
8
weird.
days. They'll claim that they searched, they processed, they were very thorough, yet they didn't find Mr. Gutierrez's cell phone that was right there in the freezer or the contents of his wallet that were in the freezer. So they did swab the cell phone for DNA, but what they didn't swab or process for fingerprints were the cards that were found, which, according to the state's theory, the person who's involved in Mr. Gutierrez's disappearance would have had to touch, to take out of the wallet, to put in the freezer. And they also didn't process the handle of the freezer. It's also critical that there was no blood on the handle of the freezer. And the phone, interesting enough, the DNA, they send the swab that they took to the crime lab, and it comes back and they say, yep, it's Mr. Gutierrez's DNA on the phone, but there was something that's called a trace allele. And you'll hear from the DNA expert that a trace allele means that it's someone else's DNA, that it's a portion of someone's DNA that did not belong to Mr. Gutierrez, but someone else. And you'll hear that that trace DNA that they found on that cell phone, as I just said, did not belong to Mr. Gutierrez. It did not belong to Ms. Patterson, the individual who found the cell phone, and it did not belong to my client, Mr. Zachariah Anderson. So someone else's DNA is on that phone.
Well, that's tricky.
You'll also see pictures and hear testimony about how the furniture in Mr. Gutierrez's apartment had been moved. And all of this furniture had been meticulously moved. Nothing's knocked over, nothing's broken. The kitchen table's nicely pushed back. The two white tables that were in front of the couch were nicely moved to the side. The couch had been moved, and we can see that because there's indentations in the carpet of where the couch had stayed for a long time versus where it was now. There were no bloody fingerprints or hand marks on the bottom of the couch. They didn't process that for DNA in that area of a couch where the person had allegedly moved it, would have had to have touched. They didn't process the areas of the chairs that would have needed to have been moved, the table that would have needed to have been moved by the person who's allegedly responsible for the disappearance of Mr. Gutierrez. They also didn't process the tools that appeared to be nicely laid out in front of the screen door. Nor did they process in Mr. Gutierrez's bedroom the open window. They didn't process that for fingerprints. What did they do? They processed the blood. That was it. Law enforcement's failure to investigate leads and to effectively process a crime scene is critical in this case. There's no body, no human remains, no murder weapon, no witnesses that can tell you exactly what happened.
Well, that's problematic.
Yet they wanted to go with the narrative that it must have been Mr. Anderson. And that was someone that they looked into everything possible. They ignored everything else. They ignored the idea that it could be anyone else other than Mr. Anderson. And you'll hear that they meticulously searched Mr. Anderson's property, not just his house, his whole property. No body, no human remains, no evidence that there had been a huge cleanup at a crime scene, no murder weapon. Not only did they search his house, they also searched his family's tree farm, an 80-acre farm, top to bottom, multiple law enforcement agencies, every acre, no body, no human remains, no murder weapon, No evidence of a crime scene cleanup. They also searched Miss Susan Brown Williamson's home, and that was the place that Mr. Anderson had gone in the morning to work, that the state claims is where Mr. Anderson, I guess, chopped up a body and put it in bags. They searched that property meticulously, not only the house, but the entire grounds. No body, no human remains, no murder weapon, nothing of evidentiary value. They then searched all of the bodies of water that were near that home and Mr. Anderson's home, not Lake Michigan, but quarries and little lakes. And they had technology that could go all the way down to the bottom to see if there was anything there. That search also revealed nothing. So the person they chose as their main character, the only person they investigated in this case, they did all of that and it yielded nothing. Mr. Anderson, as he sits in front of you today, is presumed innocent.
Yes.
And he must stay that way, because the evidence in this case, as it will come in through this trial, will not establish that Mr. Anderson committed the alleged crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. And for that reason, when the defense comes and speaks to you, when the evidence is done, we will ask that you return the only just verdict, and that's a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
She's great.
That was short, concise, and strong. There's
That was
no
powerful.
evidence.
It was very good. That's good lawyering.
And as I indicated, Christy, you'll be allowed to take notes if you wish. You're not obliged to. If you do decide to take notes, please
Happy
take
to
care
hear that.
it does not distract you from carefully listening to and observing the witnesses. You may use your notes during your deliberations to refresh your recollections. Otherwise, you should keep them confidential.
Those are either translation devices or audio enhancement devices, according to Natalie Wisco.
Okay. You can.
There she is. They're just audio enhancement devices.
As part of my withdrawal of my objection, the court will recall that we proposed a cautionary instruction. So the withdrawal of that motion was based on the cautionary instruction, which I hope the court will read.
I will, and I even told them that you'll have to remind me because I'll probably forget it. Thank you, because I did. This is a joint proposed cautionary instruction that the attorneys have agreed upon. And it states, unless otherwise guided by the court, you must disregard any statement by the attorneys or either of them that any specifically named individual other than the defendant was involved in the alleged homicide of Mr. Gutierrez. Any question about that? This is something they've agreed upon, unless I tell you otherwise. You should disregard any statement by the attorneys that any specifically named individual other than the defendant was involved in the alleged homicide of Rosalio Gonzalez Jr. Gutierrez Jr. Any question? Okay, thank you.
The homicide of Mr.
Mr. Bradley, you might call your first witness.
All right, here we go. The prosecution case in chief.
Before the first witness is called, that the parties would like to address with the court pertaining to stipulations and things of that nature. So I believe that would be more appropriately done now before the first witness is called.
Okay, so that's legalese for scram. How you can go, and I'm going to try again to keep it at just a couple of minutes. But you're welcome to go upstairs if you want, or otherwise you may remain down here in the library. And I'm hoping this will take under 10 minutes, maybe 5. Okay, thank you. In the meantime,
What are we hoping?
if I can talk to someone from Court TV, I can't get my computer cranked up this morning, and I'm wondering if something got detached while you were up here. I'm not blaming you.
Yes, you are.
I don't want to call IT unless I have to.
Schroeder's like, I'm watching Murdaugh also, and I'm just trying to make sure that I have my feet up while we're trying this case.
Power.
Kind of want to know what happens.
Playing Minesweeper.
I can see him doing that. He kind of seems like a solitaire guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Chat, what do you think?
All right, we've got a few minutes here. I guess he's gonna, while he talks to them, we'll burn through these. Got a couple chats here to go through. Jason J, over under on the prosecutor pulling a binger. Well, there's no gun to point at the audience in the or the judge or the jury in this case. Assuming that's what you meant, you could mean a lot of things by pulling a binger.
Violating Fifth Amendment rights was the first thing that came to mind for me. So.
And Flux with $5 says, when I had to wear my hair in a bun for the service, people like to squeeze my buns because they were always very firm. I always have firm buns. Ooh. All right, Flux. Thanks.
Impressive.
Prosecutor has resting guilty, just farted face. And now Bobber says, wait, no alternative theories allowed. You can give alternative theories if you want. You can point to someone. Okay, you can argue that your client didn't do it and someone else must have done it. But the problem here is they're saying you can't, without giving proper notice and having the proper emotions and hearings, before the fact, you can't say my client didn't do it. Someone else specifically did it. So, if I'm the lawyer, I can say, my client didn't do this, but the police didn't check this, and this. But if I want to say my client didn't do it because Chandler Remington did it, you have to bring this up with the court before you do that. And that's where they got into this problem. And there was almost a mistrial, was because she mentioned, the defense lawyer mentioned the ex-girlfriend specifically in the realm of people that weren't checked by the police, weren't investigated by the police, weren't followed up on by the police. And the prosecution was arguing that they violated this. In Wisconsin, apparently it's the Denny rule. They violated the Denny rule by not having the proper hearing to deal with this. And they all decided how they were going to work it out, and they all worked it out and avoided a mistrial. So you can give alternative theories as long as you don't say Chandler Remington did it or Steve did it without clearing that first with the court through proper channels, getting the court's permission to do so.
I would imagine that they would have a narrative for why it is that particular person was not thought to be a person of interest, and obviously that's not going to come in, but it's the implication weighs this idea that person might be responsible and they should have been checked by the investigators.
Yeah. And it
implies that the investigators did a bad job and framed him, sort of.
Yeah, and the defendant's argument, which apparently ultimately won the day, was no, I wasn't saying she specifically did it. I was saying she was there, she was involved, but the police. She was there. It could have been her, but the police never excluded her. And then she said she was going to go on to say it could have been any number of people, could have been this, could have been that, could have done that. She was saying I was introducing it not to say that the ex did it. I was introducing to just as an example of the police not doing their job to investigate and exclude people.
Yeah, it kind of toes the line a little bit, but I can see where that would be, ruled upon and commented on.
Well, it ran close enough to the line that it instantly shut down the opening arguments, and it was a full day, an entire afternoon, evening, and morning of the next day for the judge to I would assume he strongly suggested that they work this out before he has to do a ruling, because they came back at 1 p.m. yesterday afternoon and said, we've come to an agreement that I'll withdraw my motion and we'll give this instruction to the jury that they just gave.
I'll have to look up the Denny rule. I'm glad to be catching up on this now. Thank you for the explanation and catching me up too, and everybody who missed this first day along with me.
Natalie Wisco, who is here in chat, she was one of Kyle Rittenhouse's lawyers. She sent me some stuff. I'll forward it to you. on Denny.
I was not aware. That's very impressive. Hi, Natalie. Happy to have you here. I love this courtroom. It's beautiful. I wonder if it smells like mahogany, I think, is the way that Rob and Ian described the Virginia courthouse. It's just gorgeous.
Probably smells like old people. I don't know why. Just like
Kenosha. Never been to Kenosha, but
so wow. So all right, we got to whatever they're talking about. We apparently aren't going to know. Then once he gets his computer worked out, we'll start right on with the prosecution's case in chief, calling their first witness.
Whoever that may be.
Migraine Gain says the only Natalie lawyer that matters. Zing. Ow.
Ouch.
And Xcomer Triple Z, member for 6 months of the Legal Vices Fallen Angels tier.
Lovely.
Nice. He says, let's see. Maybe you see this. It would be 1 of 6 guz on 35.2K. I don't know what guz. I can't see this weird thing. These members get like a free super chat thing basically every month, but I can't click on. And I don't see them unless I accidentally happen to be looking at the actual feed when they come through. So yeah, I see it. It would be 1 of 6. So I've seen 1 of 6, and the GZ on 35.2K. I think I'm assuming you're meaning my 35.2 thousand subscribers, but I don't know what the GZ is. But all right, there we go. Hey, X-Homer says thanks. At least it's wait, where do we go here? At least it's here it is. At least it's unlikely to smell like patchouli. Okay.
Unlike the Berkeley Superior Courthouse, of course. Which I have not visited, but best guess of the most patchouli smelling courtroom in America.
Natalie Wisco says, hi there, lurking while doing some other work.
Hi, Natalie.
And again, as with the first day, Natalie Wisco has a stand. I'm sending her a link every day. If she gets time, if she thinks there's something important, she'll pop in as she sees fit. We don't go to Natalie. Natalie comes to us when, it's to quote Gandalf, Natalie Wiscos are never late. They arrive precisely when they're meant to. So she'll come if and when she desires and if and when she has time. And hopefully she'll come if I say anything really ridiculously stupid that isn't actually correct.
Well, I would be honored to engage with her as a guest host. That would be fantastic.
GZ means How does GZ mean congratulations? In what realm of existence does GZ mean congratulations?
Is this like Zoomer slang, or I've never heard that before?
To me, it just looks like grounds. That's all. That's all I see. Yeah, or gigahertz. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes, that was my first thought as well. All right, GZ means congrats, congratulations.
All right, yay, congrats. Yeah, and then how are we doing? We lost 3 subscribers during the OJ stream, so I was kind of sad about that.
Must have been my dad jokes. It must have been my dad jokes. I'll try to keep those to a minimum in the future. Unless.
Okay, all right. I got some private chat things that just came in that clarified some things for my silly little brain. I'm trying to bring up exactly how many subscribers I have. Right now it is, drum roll please, 35,275.
Entitled Stipulated Facts Regarding Statements of Unavailable Witness, Lene Douglas. And would you like it read or just in the record? And I'll, at the appropriate time, it'll be given.
Yeah, I'd like us to be able to read it to the jury as part of the evidence. My proposal to the court is that at a time that I would have called Ms. Douglas, which will be this morning, which is why we bring it up now, that the court will allow us to read it. I will either read it in its entirety, or if defense counsel wishes to in some way read the first portion, the paragraph that is regarding Officer Paul Chase's report, I of course have no disagreement with that. And then I will read the second half to the jury. And then of course the court can have that stipulation in
Oh,
evidence.
should
We
I
will
bring
read
up
it
the
only
video? Y'all want to see it
verbatim, or
too?
we will both,
Yeah, we should-
That's
read it
not the right one, is
Take
it?
a look.
There we go. Hi.
Ms. Douglas
Y'all
is
wanna
having
see that?
medical issues that both
All right.
parties are aware of. That's why
It's
we
up
tried to
now,
reach the
duh.
stipulation to prevent her from having to be present. She has no prior convictions, so in terms of any impeachment, we're also aware of that.
Is this a correct statement of the stipulation? Are you familiar with this?
That is correct, Judge, and the defense would prefer that we read the portions as it relates to Officer Paul Chase's reports, and then the state will read the portion as it relates to the telephone call that was had with their victim witness coordinator, Heather Beasy. So that would, and we have no objection to it being read at the point where the state would have called Lene Douglas. We think that's appropriate because that will be around the time that other residents of Wood Creek apartment will be called. So it would only make sense to read that stipulation in then and there. I have given a copy of the stipulation to Mr. Anderson. He has read that and is, as far as I know, unless it's changed now, is in agreement with the stipulation.
All right, do you fully understand what is contained in the stipulation? And any questions about it at all? By stipulating this, that means the witness will not testify, and instead the jury will be read this stipulation, and it's stipulated facts. That means that the jury will be instructed that those are proved facts in the case, and there'll be no testimony admitted either to reprove those facts or those assertions, and there'll be no testimony permitted to disprove it. Stipulation means it's agreed. Is that clear?
Yes.
Any question about this at all?
No.
Has anybody threatened you, pressured you, or forced you in any way?
No.
Has anybody promised you anything in exchange for this? No. All right. Anything else then before we start?
Just that the first witness the state intends to call, Detective Lauren Anschutz, has no prior convictions. And another witness that we would call, hopefully without needing an additional break, would be Marissa Swanigan. She's the individual who's here on the warrant. She also has no priors. And so I believe that in terms of these early witnesses that we would call before there would be any additional breaks, that I think we've met our obligation to let the court know about any prior convictions.
Okay.
And we are in agreement with that calculation to the witnesses that the state just mentioned. And as the state said, we'll work diligently in getting the other convictions for the other witnesses to present to the court at a later time.
So let it be written, so let it be done.
I
Nice
believe we're
10
ready to
Commandments
judge.
blast
All right.
there.
Love it.
Counsel, do you agree?
Yes.
Ramsey. That is a yellow tie, Judge.
Quite yellow. Canary yellow.
Stingy said, I'm going to ask in a moment of lull, who is the seemingly nice new person I haven't seen? Well, never mind. So, Chandler, who are you?
Hi, I'm Chandler Remington. I am a paralegal from Los Angeles, California, and I am very happy to be joining Jeff on his stream. We do OJ every Thursday, pretty early in the morning for me. And this is a very interesting new case. I'm very happy to be here.
And she is beginning LSAT preparations to take her law school. Is it aptitude test? Is that what it is? Whatever LSAT stands for to get into law school.
Law school admissions
test. Yeah.
You remember. On Monday, I'm going to start studying. So I'm really excited.
Close. Okay.
Practice the damn
All right,
game
thank you.
section. That's all you can do.
Go
Ugh.
ahead.
Oh, the logic games are tough. I've studied before.
State calls
Not my
Detective
first time.
Lauren Anschutz to the stand.
That was actually my strength. So hopefully it'll be the same this time around.
Is
Good advice.
he out of the room?
He's being brought, he was outside, he's being brought in by our victim witness person.
Okay.
By the way, any other law students who are watching, if you guys want to commiserate over, well, anybody who's looking at applications or anything like that, always happy to to connect over stuff like that.
You solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Please be seated.
All right, first witness, let's do this.
Judge Schroeder has the most awesome
Detective
throne.
Anschutz, can you state your first and last name
He
and
really
spell
does.
both your names for the record?
Lauren Anschutz, LORNANSCHUTZ.
Detective, how are you employed?
City of Kenosha Police Department as a detective.
How long have you been a detective?
Approximately 7 years.
And how long have you been a police officer with the Kenosha Police Department?
Just under 20 years.
During that time period, have you had an opportunity to investigate scenes where blood was present?
Yes, several.
And do you have an estimate in your 20 years how many times you've come across a scene of that type and had to make some sort of decisions
Right.
Regarding either what to do next or what there was there?
I love them.
Several hundred.
In that capacity as being on duty as a detective, did you come on May 19th, 2020 at just
that's a
after
personal
11
question.
a.m. To be at a particular location that you were asked to go to?
Yes, I was told to go to 3709 15th Street for a suspicious incident.
And when you got there, were you the first officer on the scene?
No, there was multiple officers, a sergeant, another detective, and
Would it be would that be uncommon that other officers would get there before a detective for a call like this, or would that be standard that detectives would not be called in as the first officers to arrive?
yeah, I've never been called first as a detective to respond to any scene. Typically, the officers will respond, make an assessment, talk to supervisor, and then we will be notified to respond.
And when you arrived, I don't want to know all the details, but what were you in general appraised of? So what were you told in general was the situation when you arrived before you made observations for yourself?
I was told that apartment 1B had a substantial amount of blood inside. It appeared as though there was a major incident occurred in the apartment and nobody was located.
And was that information provided by law enforcement?
Yes.
Were you provided information that the person reporting this was still on scene?
Yes.
And did you have a chance to interact with that individual?
Yes, I spoke with her, Sadie Beecham.
Okay.
Sadie Beecham was on scene. She was sitting in her car at the time I spoke with her.
It looks like
And,
Louis C.K.
did you come to believe that Ms. Beecham had not fully entered the threshold of the residence,
non-ginger
had not walked through the
version.
residence before calling law enforcement?
Correct.
Okay. So based on that, would your role in this case be to specifically search for a body or somebody within that residence, or would that be the role of other people who were at the scene?
That would have been the role of the responding officers to preserve life, to make sure the scene is secure.
Okay. And back before you were a detective, were you in that role many, many times over your career?
10 years, yes.
Okay. And so in that earlier role than yours, would it have been a priority to search for a person and not worry about what the evidence was, or are you already an evidence preserver in that first role that you described?
I'm going to object as far as leading.
Well, it had an alternative, so the objection is overruled.
Go ahead.
Can you rephrase, or can you
Sure.
give me the question again? Sorry.
Sure. In that
Yes, you should watch the
earlier
defense
role,
opening.
is the priority to do the search as quickly as possible, or to meticulously try to preserve evidence, like not step in things, et cetera, et cetera?
In those situations, you're
things?
concerned about the safety of others. That's your main focus and priority at that moment, as well as scene security. We don't know if anybody's in there. So that's what you're vigilant of when you first enter. And then obviously after, you can slow down and then focus more on the preserving of evidence.
So I want to turn your attention to the address one more time. You said it was 3709 15th Street, apartment 1B. Do I have that correct?
Correct.
And do you know, is that a part of a complex or is that an isolated single-family location?
So it's a larger multi-building apartment complex. I believe there's 3 or 4 different addresses per building. 3709 is mid in the middle of one of the buildings with an entry door specifically to that address on both the west, north and south entrances of the apartments. You can enter either side.
What even?
Once entering, there's 4 apartments downstairs, 4 apartments upstairs.
So this specific building that you're speaking of so far has 8 apartments. Did I get that correct? 4 up and 4 down?
3709 15th does have 8 apartments, yes.
Okay. And you are focused, of course, on one apartment of those 8. Is that true?
Number 1B.
Okay. Is that location, is that overall complex, does that have a name here in Kenosha?
Yes, called Wood Creek Apartments.
Okay. And is that address specifically in Wood Creek Apartments, that 3709 15th Street, is that in the city and county of Kenosha?
Yes.
And in the state of Wisconsin?
Yes.
And where is 1B in relation to the other apartments in the building?
It would be the northwest apartment. So of the 8 apartments, it's on the first level, northwest apartment.
So it's first level. And is it closest to the main doors that face the parking area on its side?
Yes.
Okay. And then there would be a second floor of apartments.
Correct.
So if I understand correctly, 1B would have an apartment directly above it.
Correct.
And it would have an apartment across from it.
Correct.
And then it would have an apartment on the side of it as well.
Yes. So the way yes.
When you were there that day, what can you say about the weather conditions that were being experienced?
We had received a substantial amount of rain, so everything was wet.
He is just a non-ginger Louis C.K.
Gloomy.
Yep.
Cooler.
You say substantial amount of rain, just a short rain, a Wisconsin short rainstorm or something larger?
No, it had been days of rain.
And had that rain been going for multiple days before you arrived at the apartment on the 19th of May?
Yes.
Heavy rain.
A substantial amount of rain, very
Okay.
heavy.
Thank
Purple rain.
So when you got there, Detective, you arrived, there were already officers on scene. You indicate you speak to a person who identifies herself as Sadie Beecham, and she's located by her car. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is it still raining outside in your memory?
I don't recall. I know it wasn't a downpour. If it was raining, it may have been sprinkling.
Okay. And at that point, what, if anything, did you notice about the demeanor of Sadie Beecham?
She was scared. She was visibly shaking, having a difficult time spitting out words, frightened, worried.
Could you tell what she was scared about in general?
I'm going to object speculation.
What, if anything, led you to
Oh, don't start this what if
conclusions
anything
that she
stuff
was
again.
scared other than these early physical observations?
I'm going to object again as to speculation to how his conclusions that she was scared.
People don't talk the way lawyers want them to. The lawyers are taught that the witnesses are to testify only to things that they perceive with their senses. I saw this, I heard this. That's not the way people converse in ordinary discourse. They combine their observations with the impressions that they personally have formed,
I love Schroeder.
which do often involve some degree of speculation.
So rephrase the question.
Sometimes involve making suppositions about what others are thinking. That's not how we talk in ordinary discourse, but when we get into the courtroom, the lawyers want to pin it down to exactly what the witness personally knows, what the witness has perceived with his own senses. But what the question is calling for is really a composite of what the detective personally observed and somewhat the conclusions, and they're
Okay,
there,
Schroeder.
they're suppositions
We get it, Schroeder.
as to what may have.
But I think it's cool is explaining what this objection means.
I like
triggered
it.
The response that he was seeing with his senses.
It's good for the
So
jury.
I'm
I
actually
mean,
going to allow the answer,
okay.
even though it does incorporate some of that, so long as you folks understand that there's going to be some supposition, and it can be dealt with further on cross-examination. But there will be some supposition built in, and not things that he actually has observed. So, you understand the question? Do you remember the question?
No, I'd like it repeated, please.
You indicated she was shaking. You
Yes.
made a physical observation that she appeared frightened.
Yes.
Any other observations or information lead you to conclude she was frightened other than that physical observation you've testified to so far?
Yes.
And what was that?
She was concerned about her children.
I'm going to object. This answer is
Yeah.
hearsay.
That's it's supposition.
I'd briefly like to be heard.
Well, I didn't say.
Okay.
Now see, I'm supposing what you're thinking. And
I
bet
believe
I'm
you
right.
are. I believe you are.
I'm right.
Yep.
And we can have that discussion separately if and when you ask the question. But in terms of this particular question, it is not that it's hearsay, it's that it's supposition. So I'm going to sustain the objection.
All right. I'm going to head the direction you are anticipating now then, Your Honor. So, Officer, at the time that you first spoke to Sadie Beecham and she provided you information, was she physically shaking?
Yes.
And did she show signs to you that she was still experiencing emotion as she was speaking to you about what she was telling you?
Yes.
Was it, would you describe her way of expressing herself as calm or excited or distressed? What would be your explanation of the phrasing and wording and tone of her discussion with you at this stage in your contact?
She was truly scared of, petrified about what had happened.
Judge, I'm going to indicate to the court that this is an excited utterance and ask the court to allow admission of anything that was during the physical observations he's expressed.
And Judge, I would object. This witness has already
Wow.
testified that he was not the first individual on scene, so that there were other individuals who had spoken with Miss Beecham prior to this. Several time had passed. Also, excited utterance has to deal with that immediate impression. Nothing was ongoing at that time. The defense would maintain that given the time that had passed and the time that had passed and she had made these observations, any subsequent statements made to Detective Anschutz, it does not fall under the excited utterance exception to the hearsay rule.
Well, let's begin. First of all,
She's effective.
it's not my impression that they're actually being offered to prove the truth of what is asserted in the statement.
She's bringing the
I don't think the
objections
district
fast,
attorney is
furious, and
going-
hard.
is
Good for
offering
her.
this
She's great.
Prove
They're both good, honestly.
the content of the statement, which is asserted. Second, it's a non-testimonial statement, so we don't have that concern. To the extent that it would qualify as a here's definitionally hearsay statement, it is, I think, an excited utterance the law with respect to excited utterances, the key is.
Oh, geez,
not,
did
for
he just
example,
sigh into the
passage of time Or
microphone?
the intervention of others.
Oh my
It's
God.
The spontaneity of the.
We have Darth Vader in the courtroom.
And given the situation that existed as portrayed in the testimony, I'm going to overrule your objection.
Good,
What
but
did she
lengthy
say?
explanation.
I guess the couple of things, Judge, just if I maybe heard. First, we haven't heard what the statement even is.
Yeah, that's correct.
And second, if the state's premising their question that they're seeking to introduce the statement under the excited utterance hearsay exception, then they must be offering it for some sort of truth, or else they wouldn't need a hearsay exception.
Well, you're right. And that's why I let off actually starting with the confrontation, or I actually started in my analysis with whether it's even subject to those rules, because it's excluded from the operation of the hearsay rule. So I would not even accept the premise that he needs an exception to get it out of the hearsay rule. But I understand your point, but I'm going to overrule the objection. Go ahead.
So my question is, what did she say to you when she was in the condition you have described?
She had told me she got to the apartment, observed the screen door closed, but the glass door opened. She looked inside, saw blood everywhere, and walked out. She said she was frightened for her children because she knew Zach Anderson had something to do with this, and
Judge, I'm going to object at this point and ask that be struck.
Yeah, what was that?
Judge, this is all during what she said during the exam. She's going to testify. This is subject to cross-examination. The officer should be allowed to finish saying what she told him on the scene in this excited state and not be interrupted unless there's a new objection. The court's already ruled that in that state, she can say this.
Well, I've ruled that when she's in this state, she can state things that would be normally reactive to a situation in which she found herself, but now she's getting into her analysis. There's actually another rule, which is the present mental state, purpose or plan, which probably would give some relief to the district attorney, but the problem with the testimony is it's reaching into the ultimate facts of the case, and it is relayed testimony for a witness who's available to testify, and correctly, you state she's going to be subject to cross-examination, but it's not as it's her opinion about the
No, Judge.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wait, what's his ringtone?
No, Judge. What was
Is
that?
that the theme to Taxi?
inadmissible. It's irrelevant what she thinks.
Judge, no.
She expresses a alarm to officers.
Yes.
I think that typically a person who has observed a crime scene is allowed to tell an officer.
I don't want to talk about typical.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, so in this case, she arrives at a crime scene. She has an abundance of evidence that, of course, is not in this case so far, right? But she has an abundance of information. She is in a highly frightened condition, according to the officer, and she expresses fear for her children because of something specific. I don't think any of that's irrelevant.
But he didn't testify to-
Nor is it hearsay.
The problem is that
should we be doing this in front of the
starting
jury?
with the testimonial nature of it, it's still not.
Yeah.
But we're getting to the point where you're getting into what should come in, if it's going to come in at all, as testimonial. She's not subject at this point to cross-examination. So
Are we just doing sidebars on the
I'm
mic
going
right
to
now?
sustain the
Like,
objection.
all right. Well,
After she expressed fear for her children, what happened next in relation to Sadie Beecham?
Due to her concern for the children, she
Oh, my face hurts from smiling.
We've got to move on to the next step because he's incorporated the objectionable material into the beginning of his next answer. So just what happened next is the question.
Sadie left to
Okay.
check on her
All right.
children.
Thanks.
And after that, did you then take it upon yourself to be part of an entrance into the residence?
I did.
Okay. Up until that point, what had you done in relation to the residence, if anything?
I peered in the sliding window, didn't enter, and I also walked into the hallway through the front entrance and looked around in the hallway.
I'm going to now show you what's been marked as Exhibit 1 in this case.
State's Exhibit 1, Photo 1.
State's Exhibit 1, Photo 1. It's going to come up on the screen up there. I'm going to
You can
ask
see
if
it?
you recognize.
Judge, I'm going to ask that it not be published for the jury before it's been admitted, that it needs to be shown to this witness first, not in front of the.
Ooh, she's a
Well,
stickler for
talk to counsel
procedure.
briefly
I
about
like
that.
her.
Just
Okay,
so
I like
that
her
so
too.
that she understands at least what I'm talking about.
Okay,
But it's such a
and
relief
based on the electronic
watch a trial with
experience we've been
competent
having this
attorneys.
morning, it may not show up on the screen anyway.
Yeah. She's a stickler for procedure. I like her.
Yeah. Yeah, I like her too.
And she is schooling the district attorney, not a Binger-esque lackey of the district attorney, the district attorney himself. I think he's a little bit intimidated by her.
He's not bad though. I mean, the excited utterance rule. So I'm also taking practice bar questions while I'm studying for the LSAT because I was helping my friend study for the bar. And I had a question about this specifically. So I'm learning things about, I liked her objection. Like, there were multiple other detectives, who questioned her first. So there was a period of time that had elapsed, a cooling down period, if you will.
She's first asking that I read
It's a good objection.
stipulation. This is a stipulation that we have previously provided the court, and it's about the admission of evidence that comes in either pictures or downloads. If I have your permission to read that stipulation to the court.
You may do so.
So this says the below signed parties stipulate. It's signed by both myself and Attorney Miller. It indicates the below signed parties stipulate that all photographs, financial records, phone records, social media records, computer downloads, and phone downloads be admitted into evidence without foundation testimony. The purpose of this stipulation is to allow all parties to discuss and question witnesses regarding these records without having to previously set a foundation. So essentially what we are doing, Judge, is we're stipulating that, oftentimes in a courtroom, we have to bring in somebody to say who took the photo or how was the photo compiled. There's additional witnesses or additional time. We're just going to seamlessly show those records as long as we make sure each other are apprised to try to save that time, because there's an enormous amount of records and photographs, as the court is aware.
Looks like Nathan
true,
Lane.
That is true, and I just thought it was appropriate to read that stipulation prior to it being shown to the jury, so there was that understanding and the record. But any objection to it being shown now is withdrawn, now that that stipulation's been read.
Thank you. All right. Best.
Again, I'm going to show, Detective, I'm going to ask you to turn your attention to the television that's above the jury and look at State's Exhibit 1, Photo 1. Assuming that it works.
He just looks uncomfortable in his own skin.
Judge, does your laser pointer work onto the television?
Doesn't work on the glass.
Okay.
But I do have.
You have the old school?
I have Sister Marcienne's, where is it?
Oh, can you?
Many's the time. It's not going to come on? Oh.
Exactly. No, I was literally going to say that. I was literally going to say at the next break that he looks like Vincent D'Onofrio.
If he's going to be using the pointer, maybe we'll give him a mic.
I was exactly going to say he looks like Vincent
Let's
D'Onofrio
hope we've got power in there.
from Men in Black.
So, Detective, as you look at this, do you recall what this is a picture of, or know this picture contemporaneous with what we've talked about, May 19th, 2020?
So this would be a picture of the north side of 3709 15th Street.
Oh, we get to see the evidence. That's good.
From the parking lot.
I like
looking at the entrance to the residence.
The residence we've talked about, apartment 1B?
Correct.
Can you tell by the conditions of the vehicles and the roadway there what the weather conditions are at the moment these pictures are being taken?
It's either raining or had rained.
Is there, do you see a white larger vehicle that's prominent in the center of picture 1?
Yeah, should I point?
Yes.
This one?
I'm referring to that vehicle. Do you recognize that vehicle in the context of this investigation?
I do.
Okay. And what is that vehicle?
That's a white Ford Explorer, Colorado plates. That was belonged to Rosalio Gutierrez.
Okay. And is that the individual who you believe to reside in apartment 1B?
Yes.
Is Rosalio's sliding doors, in other words, a non-hallway entrance to his apartment or exit to his apartment, is that visible in this picture?
Yes, it is.
And can you point out where that is located within this picture? Okay. There appears to be a yellow sort of tape or rope that is located in this picture as well. Do you see that?
Yes, that's crime scene tape.
Okay, is that in a couple of locations in this picture?
Yes.
Can you point out again with your pointer where that is?
Seems like the ghost in my house is acting up again.
Some here stretched, and then some from the entry door to 3709 stretched out towards the parking lot.
And based on your knowledge of these investigations, who put that up?
I just had a bag for my tarot
Usually
card. Literally just kind of fall from across the room onto the floor by my
so
foot.
no one comes or goes.
That was weird.
After they make their initial.
Sounds straight out of a horror movie, personally.
Correct.
I'd be scared.
And so
I have a ghost in my house.
Point that
people have seen the door slam by itself on my stream.
Sadie Beecham initially. Is this the vantage point, or is this the view you are seeing back on May 19th?
Yes, that's
accurate.
accurate.
Strawberry. Not
I'm going to show you now what's been marked as picture 2 of Exhibit 1.
Oh, got it. Weird.
Do you see that picture as well and recognize that?
I do.
What is that a picture of?
So this is the main entrance to 3709. This would be the sliding screen door, glass door to apartment 1B, which is just inside the door to the right.
Nice dig.
And do you recall whether the overall building where you see this door here, is that a locked door or is that an unlocked door to get into the main hallway?
That is unlocked door. There's also a door on the other side of the building that you can enter this hallway that is also unlocked.
Okay, so at this period of time, this apartment complex did not have locked doors into their central hallway.
Correct.
And what would you estimate is the distance from the Rosalio Gutierrez sliding door that we can see there onto that small patio, and then down to a vehicle parked directly parallel below? How many feet would you say that is, or however you want to estimate the distance?
25 to 30 feet.
Okay. And much of it is grass?
Yeah, there was a small
Much of it.
concrete stoop, and the rest grass, then sidewalk.
And of course, the concrete, the sidewalk and the patio would be probably concrete.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Now I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 3. Again, is that something you recognize again from May 19th, 2020?
Yes, this is going to be the front entrance door to 3709 15th Street. This would be the sliding glass door to apartment 1B.
So it's a different vantage point, a little closer up.
Correct.
Now I'm going to show you what's been marked as Picture 4, Exhibit 1. Do you recognize where that is located on May 19th, if you do?
Yes. So when you enter that main entrance door that you just saw in the last photo, there's a stairway leading to the upper section of the apartment complex, and this would be immediately to your right underneath the stairwell. This is the door to apartment 1B.
Ooh, they were the people under the
as
stairs.
I look at Picture 4, can you orient me on either direction where that front entrance hallway to the hallway is? Is it further down the hallway, or is it off to the I guess would be the right of the exhibit?
Looks quite a bit like Brian Dennehy. I'll give you that.
I'm sorry.
The main doorway we saw in Exhibit 3 that takes you into the hall.
Okay.
Where's that located vis-a-vis this picture?
So this photo is taken just inside that main entrance to 3709.
Okay. So essentially, this is taken in the doorway of the entrance we saw in Picture 3?
Yes.
Okay. And so how many feet, again, would you estimate it is to go from that doorway entrance to the doorway of 1B?
10 to 15 feet.
Okay. And there's a stairwell there?
Correct.
If a person wished to, could they ring the doorbell or knock on the door at 1B and be able to stand or crouch?
He's healthier than Ray Liotta, though.
One side or the other of that door. Is there room to do that?
Yes.
And where is there room to do that depicted on this picture, if it is?
So this is a small hallway or a small wall that extends out. If you were to go around to the other side of this, you wouldn't be seen. You also could back up
He is
to where
Harry,
the
he's
photo was
Harry
taken
Potter.
and not be seen. And also there's a void here underneath the stairwell that you could
All of Dudley's
stand
presence
or
in.
crouch under the stairwell and not be seen.
Are the metallic objects to the right of the door depicted on this picture, are those mailboxes?
Yes, those are the mailboxes for the 4 lower units. These are for the 4 upper units.
And based on how high up the stairwell is, if you can estimate, does a person have to sit down to be able to get to their mail, or if by bending or standing, are they able to reach their mailboxes in this picture?
You're able to walk up to it and get that mail.
If you know apartment 1B, does that door open, again, only if you know, does it open into the hallway or into the interior of the apartment, if you recall?
It opens in to the apartment.
Are there any doors that actually open out into a hallway?
Of some kind, if you recall?
Yeah.
Not in the hallway here.
Okay. So if a person knocked on this door and then did not become visible, is there one of those eye holes so that from inside you're able to see into the hallway?
Yes, there's a eye hole.
Okay. So if you kept
a-hole.
yourself off to the side so you were not visible in the eye hole, the door opens back into the apartment if somebody is inside and they are opening the door to see who knocked. Is that correct?
Yes.
Every time I hear eye hole, I want to make a Rick and Morty
And
joke,
until somebody
but I can't.
out, in other words, brought their head out of their apartment, that area by the mailboxes would not be visible to them until they somehow extended their head out into the apartment or took a severe angle after opening the door. Is that right?
I'm going to object as far as foundation, this witness's
took it?
knowledge of whether that's possible and whether he attempted to do that himself.
I think he can make estimates based on his observation and how the door works. I mean, he's a physical observer. He's an eyewitness.
I think
Fair.
it's subject to
He's doing Jay Leno facial expressions.
Yep.
analysis as something that he can perceive without any particular expertise beyond that of the ordinary layperson. But it's his description of it makes it more makes it easier for the jury to understand. Objections overruled.
Objection, Your
You
Honor.
understand my question?
Please make him stop saying
Go
eye
again.
hole.
Sorry.
Sure.
Get up on out of here with my eye
If you,
holes.
if somebody is crouching or attempting not to be seen and they're in the area of the mailboxes, okay, and they knock on the door and the person inside 1B opens that door to be able to see somebody over by the mailboxes, would they have to poke their head out?
What?
So I would say you would have to break the threshold of the door. We train on clearing room clearing in law enforcement. And in order to see up against this wall, we have to break the threshold. That's one of our main concerns when we clear rooms before we enter them, is a blind spot up against the wall right here. We can pie the room off all we want, but we can't see this. Even if we're standing way on the other side of this door, looking on an angle, we can't see against the wall. And that's our main concern when we enter rooms, because we can see the whole room except for tight against the wall.
When you say clear a room, does that mean to try to figure out if there's danger to you in that next room?
Correct.
And would that danger include a person having a weapon?
Yes.
And do weapons include everything from guns or knives to clubs or hard objects that could hit you?
Correct.
Okay. So when you clear a room, you're worried about all of those possible threats in the possession of a person who might be crouching. Is that right?
Yes.
So did you, before you entered the rest of the apartment, were you able to make observations that concerned you at the location we're talking about? In other words, then the door and the hallway that we're in right now, were there observations that you, as an officer of this extended period of time, having been to scenes with blood before, did you make observations that concerned you before you entered?
Yes. I see what appeared to be blood here.
Nice.
That blood was running down the wall, down the door frame.
Judge, I guess I'm
On the
going to
wall.
object to his answer saying that it's blood.
He didn't say it was blood. He said it appeared to be blood.
And, you know, Judge, this is a person whose credibility on this issue is that he's been to what he told you was hundreds of crime scenes over a period of more than a decade.
We're arguing about something that's not up because I didn't.
Yep.
The witness did not say it was blood. The witness said it appeared to be blood. So you're safe.
Okay.
All right.
Should I go on then?
Be my guest.
Thank you. So,
Pleased with himself.
excuse me?
But I'm crouching.
Stop. He's like doing an early Jim Carrey fire marshal.
So,
villain.
officer, did you see anything else that caused you concern at this specific location in those early observations?
Yes, there was blood.
Blood dripping down the
Appeared to
walls.
be blood on the door.
He's very shouty.
There was also what appeared to be blood on a mailbox.
Worse than waters?
The wall, the door, and the mailbox.
And then ultimately, did you enter the crime scene?
I did.
And do you recall what way you entered the crime scene? We've seen two entrances, the hallway and the sliders. Which one did you go in, if you remember?
We entered through the lock or through the sliding door.
Okay. Do you recall when you ultimately, if you know, just if you know, do you recall whether this door was locked from the interior or not? Only if you recall.
Yes, this door was locked from the interior.
When you arrived at the scene?
Correct.
Okay. So when you entered, did you take any steps to try to be a steward of the evidence that was in any evidence that might be involved in that scene?
So at the time, it was the utmost importance
Steward?
preserving evidence on the scene. I wore booties over the top of my shoes. I wore a mask. I wore gloves. I didn't have anything with me. I was super cautious with transferring evidence.
So when you walked in, do you recall who went in with you, if anyone?
Detective Correa.
Just to stop you, is Detective Correa the individual seated in the here at council table with us?
In the gray suit.
Okay. Who else, if anyone?
Officer Widener and Officer Van Wee.
And do Officer Widener and Van Wee have a particular reason that they would be accompanying you within the Kenosha Police Department? Are they detectives?
No, they're highly trained in processing evidence.
Something.
They're specialized in that, retrieving evidence.
So let me just ask you, to the extent you know, that's a specialty in a police department?
Yes.
That requires additional training, extra training?
Large amounts of training.
And do you know if, in your experience, our officer, did you say Van Wee?
Yep.
And Widener, are these brand new officers who have just started the evidence collection, if you know?
No, they're both seasoned officers who've been on longer than me, 20
He's got
years.
crazy eyes.
And they have been processing evidence scenes for
I
the vast
noticed.
majority of their time at the police department.
Is that
Cool
why they
eyebrows.
would be sent to a scene like this one, in your opinion?
Correct. They're the best we have.
Okay. So
Uh-oh.
why are they, was it a surprise that they were
What?
coming in with you, or does that make
They're
sense
the
to
best
you in
they
the
have.
context of what this investigation is? But describe for the jury how come there are 4 officers coming in now. We know some officers have already been in there. They have a different role. What's going on now?
So we walked in, Detective Cree and I were the investigators on the case. Van Wee and Widener were there specifically for evidence collection. So while we were in there, we communicated with each another what we've seen, thoughts on what happened. And ultimately, you know, we picked up on things, they picked up on things, and then they completely, thoroughly process the scene.
If I said that this sounds like it was a walkthrough, is that a word, a phrase that you're aware of, or a term?
Yes.
And is that what
Nothing,
you just? Go ahead.
nothing was collected at that time. We simply walked through to get an idea of what had happened there to further our investigation.
So if I understand, it's not your role to pick up individual pieces of evidence. Is that right?
No, that would have been entirely up to Widener and Van Wee.
You're making observations to see what to do next.
Correct.
Okay. Do you observe any electronic items that are on that would at least cause you to note that in terms of, you know, why this scene would be where it is?
I don't know
Are
what
there
that
any
means.
electronic items on?
Yeah, there
What?
was a large television that had a blue screen with Rosalio, the name Rosalio.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Stakes Exhibit 150 and ask if you recognize that. This is, again, Exhibit 1, Your Honor, Picture 150. I apologize. I'm always
Check to see if his
Say
Wi-Fi
150.
router name is the name of the
This is
killer.
television.
Is
connect
that
to
what he's
Wi-Fi.
getting at? That's very
No.
weird.
I keep forgetting.
No, I'm just being a smart
So
ass.
exhibit one.
You got to connect to
picture
Wi-Fi, and it says,
Does
the
that
butler did
depict
it.
what you have just described?
Yes.
All right. And so that's a television, I assume, that we see that has the blue screen.
Yes.
Okay, and you indicated it had Rosalio. Can you just point that out with the pointer, please?
Yeah, it appears to be in like a standby mode.
Okay. Now, it looks like the TV screen is above a cabinet or shelving that is fairly extensive in the room. Is that, does that appear to be an accurate depiction of what you saw on the 19th?
Yes,
That's
this
how
was
he
on
talks.
the west wall of the living room area.
All right, and I'll show you a diagram in a minute, have you point out where on the diagram. But before I do that, is there any evidence that anything has been disturbed in this? It looks like, I mean, is this a cabinet or is this a bunch of shelving, or do you recall? If you know.
Both, I guess. I mean,
Okay.
it's cabinet with shelving, like an entertainment
Okay.
stand, have you?
Does it look like any items have been toppled from this or are disturbed in any kind of major way?
Not majorly disturbed. However, there were some items laying on the ground that may have been knocked off that. I don't know.
And were there any, as to this cabinet or this set of items, if you recall, did you make any observations about anything on this item? Only if you remember.
Yeah, there was blood spatter on the photos, photo frames, basically throughout.
Okay. All right. I'm going to show you.
Judge, again, I'm going to ask that be struck as far as that it was blood splatter.
There's not a foundation for the witness to identify the substance which he observed as blood. So unless I'm corrected, we're going to interpret that as it appeared to be.
Appeared to be blood to me.
Okay.
Judge, I just would like to approach just briefly. If we could just talk about this very briefly.
As you wish.
Okay.
No, it wasn't
Wow, what do you
actually a lot
think
of
so
sauce.
far?
It's
Yeah.
you know, I'm pleased that the prosecutor and the defense attorney are both competent. That's a nice, refreshing thing compared to the Murdaugh trial. I'm much happier to be watching this than that, by the way. It's interesting so far. I just this witness has his eyes bugging out of his head. He looks terrified of everything. I'm like,
weird.
It's weird, and he's a detective, so I would imagine this isn't his first time testifying as an expert witness in a case. He works for Kenosha, so I don't know, for the Kenosha City Police Department. So I really, this is a weird case, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, talk about the styles, the defense lawyer versus prosecutor styles. I mean, I personally love the defense lawyer. I think she's sharp. She's on the ball. She doesn't take shit. And she's not afraid to assert herself, even though the district attorney is handling the prosecution.
I also think she's very well put together, except for that little smudge on her cheek, which I just think needs to be, I don't know, if bronzer needs to be blended or something like that. I've had that problem with makeup before, so I empathize, but she's intelligent.
That's a birthmark. That's a birthmark.
Oh, it is?
Like
okay.
Weinstein birthmark, yeah.
My bad. She's very well put together. I like her style. She's quick-witted, but she's not abrasive and she's not intrusive either. She makes objections when they're necessary, but she doesn't call too much attention to the objection or make it seem as though she's objecting for a reason that it's going to implicate her client. I feel like that's always tricky.
Well, she doesn't yell at me, so I like her a lot for that.
Yeah.
I'm literally getting a headache from him he yells anyway. Now he's yelling into a microphone. It's like when you go to watch live music in a very small bar and some dumbass mics up the drums.
Yeah, I had to turn the volume down a little bit just because he was kind of grating on me. But, honestly, the thing is, Binger didn't necessarily yell. He was soft-spoken, but he gave me more of a headache just by being an asshole, really, just like an evil prick, as Joe called him, which I think was the perfect description. So I prefer him to Binger, definitely. Seeing Binger in this courtroom, I'm like, I'll take anybody else, literally, and that person will be an amazing, amazing prosecutor comparatively.
And Bass says, legal advice. Did you see the court reporter's face when Schroeder, I was asking if Court TV unplugged his shit? That was, she was like, that's funny. The logic games were fun, said Natalie Wisco.
Officer,
I love
The
them.
trial is going to be 3 months long because of the judge. And oh my God, that was just his phone. I love him, but this is going to be a long one, says Flux.
You are aware
Thank you for
that
the
there's
super
been
chats,
some
everybody.
professional confirmation that it was blood. Is that correct?
It's like a patriotic
That's
ringtone.
correct. It appeared to be
Something.
blood.
Okay. So when you say blood in this context, you're stating your opinion as a professional police officer based on your training and experience. Is that correct?
Correct. For now on, I'll say appeared.
Hey, Zadak Attack,
you're
welcome.
not
They're called
saying
peepholes.
That you did any kind of
Not eye
professional
holes.
analysis. You're simply saying, based on what I do for a living,
Do an
I'm
Illuminati
offering
symbol
you the
kind of thing.
opinion that's blood. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to show you a diagram of
Fluffer boy.
I missed that
In
one.
the opinion that
His
it appeared to be
email
blood.
address.
And I
Fluffer boy.
would add what I said
You're
before
kidding.
about
No.
people in
Wow.
ordinary discourse had some
That's not real.
degree of
You're goofing on me. I'm gonna Google it.
supposition and personal, or not personal knowledge, but
Fluffer boy
historical
2004.
experience into their answers. So
Very naughty.
if he does slip into saying blood,
It's too
keep
much
in
information.
mind that is not definitively proved. It's his opinion under all the
Private chat.
circumstances and what it appeared to him to be. He's saying it looked like blood.
That's
But
true.
when he goes back to the police station and gets back into the ordinary discourse world,
Fluffer boy
He's gonna say,
2004 at
I saw blood in
yahoo.com.
these spots. Okay?
That's
Any question
kind of
about
amazing.
that? So there is some degree of
Thank you for that.
lack of actual knowledge, and I'm
Okay, murder trial,
gathering
sorry.
that, this will be addressed further during the trial. So, go ahead.
Yeah,
So,
I know
no,
now.
Dinger.
what I'm going to show you, Detective, is State's Exhibit 41, and ask
Dinger's
you if you
email was Fluffer
recognize
Boy.
what this
Assistant
not
DA.
to scale diagram is of.
All right.
This
Back to the
requires
trial.
us to change machines, Judge, so we just need the patience of the jury. So
That's a
I had
gender
a
neutral
Lauren.
name.
There's Lauren and Lauren. He's a Lauren. We had a Lauren in my high school class. It's not uncommon. in
can you
Utah.
expand out as large as you can, but still have
That's a
the
nice
exhibit
name.
sticker, please?
The witness has already expanded out as large as he can.
As far as it goes? Okay. All right. Please take a close look at Exhibit 41 for us and indicate if that appears to be a diagram of a layout, again, not to scale, that you recognize.
Yes, it's a very rough sketch of the apartment.
Does
Is
it
it to
appear to be
scale?
basically accurate based on what you recall of your walkthrough at the residence at 1B?
Yes.
So on Exhibit 41, can you just point out for the jury, where is the hallway door that we saw?
It'd be right here.
Okay. And so when you enter that hallway door, what is on each side of you? So what are the first things that are on either side of you in the apartment as you enter? If you remember.
Coming through this door.
Yep, the hallway door.
So to the right, this way would
Yep.
be, there was a couch.
Okay.
Ouch.
And does it appear to be an
Couch. Our safe
L-shaped
word.
couch?
Yes, it was an L-shaped couch.
Okay. And then what else?
There was a mat.
That was Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's
Standing
safe
up.
word.
I know. Couch. Gotta say
And
couch.
then to the left was a kitchen area. But I recall there being a wall or something here. I'm not 100% certain.
Okay. That's what happens when you first enter, correct?
Yes.
And is there a dining room table area?
Yes, this would be the kitchen. This would be the dining room area here, dining room table.
And the rest of that then, including where the couch is the living room area?
Couch.
Correct.
Okay.
This whole area would be the living room area.
Where's the TV that we just saw located on this diagram?
Against the west wall.
Okay.
On the west wall.
And then where are those slider doors that we just saw that would bring you out by the street?
So the slider entrance is right here.
Okay. So when you entered, you said you entered the slider door, correct?
Correct.
And then if you enter that door off to the right, you see the TV that we already showed a picture of, correct?
Correct. The cabinet in the television photo that you saw would have been taken from similar to this.
All right. Okay. Now, you're not the evidence person, so I'm not asking you for specific and sort of honed in detail. But as you enter the slider doors, what is it that you observe that causes you concern, if anything?
So as soon as I walked in, I observed a substantial amount of blood right here.
And located on what?
So it would have been on the carpet, pooling of blood. So within that pooling of blood, there was an obvious void where there was no blood in the shape of a rectangle. So substantial amount of blood right here, and then a void, as if there was like a rug there that had been moved after someone was bleeding.
What else did you observe that caused you any concern?
I observed a significant amount of suspected blood on this table, on the couch, on the walls, on the ceiling, on this wall, on the cabinet, on the floor throughout here,
God.
on the back wall,
No wonder his eyes are
and
bugging
some
out his
areas in the
head.
kitchen here.
So
That's a lot of blood.
Detective, you sound like you're describing many locations in multiple rooms. Is that what you're intending to tell us?
There was suspected blood throughout.
Okay. And some of that's on the ground?
Yes.
And some of it on the ground is substantial?
Yes.
Okay. A lot?
Yes.
And some of it is on the walls?
Yes.
And it's not just one wall, it's several walls in the residence?
Jesus.
And some of it's on the ceiling?
Yes.
And it's on the ceiling in several areas of the residence?
Yes.
What about the couch area? Did you observe any blood in that area or anything that, I'm sorry, again, that in your opinion was blood?
Yeah, so the couch had
Sounds like the scene where Johnny Depp bit it in the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
The bed was just gouting blood all.
Of suspected
It sounds
blood
like a
throughout it.
nightmare.
However, against the backrest of the couch, right about here, there was a large amount of blood up where you would put your head, up towards the top.
Somebody
of
did
the
some shit to somebody in that apartment.
cushion
Yeah.
of the couch. Right here.
The
Wow.
detective it seems very affected by what he saw. And remember, just because somebody's a detective, it doesn't mean that they're not traumatized by things like this, like a normal person would be.
Could be.
Sounds very bloody and very terrible to see.
Let me ask you about some specific pictures now and just orient me as to the diagram. So you mentioned a couch and you've pointed out that's the L-shaped object. Is that correct?
Yes, right here.
Okay. And then you mentioned that there was a table and a wall area that was over close to where the kitchen area starts, correct? Over sort of across from the couch. So now I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 155.
Oh, get a vax, man. Wait.
God, there's a lot of hand sanitizer in that courtroom, like on every end of every aisle in the gallery.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You're good.
All right, hey, everybody watching, 280 of you that aren't watching Murdoch right now, thank you for being here. And if you
Yes,
haven't
thank you.
subscribed, I'd be grateful if you'd do me a solid by subscribing to the channel so we can continue to grow. And don't forget to hit like. And
So based
shit.
on your observation of the scene at 1B, do you recognize this picture as something you observed in the period on
That doesn't look
May
that bad.
19th when you were
No,
in the
it doesn't.
residence, late morning, early afternoon?
I mean, not from this angle anyway.
That appears to be taken right as you enter through the sliding door. Yes.
It's much better when you can see it.
Is there a door depicted in photo 55?
Yeah. This door right here would be the door that enters into the hallway.
Okay. And then you indicated there was a couch and that you recall a wall and a table. Is the wall and the table that you recall depicted in picture 55?
This wall.
Okay.
There's a small table.
Okay. And was that an area of concern for you in terms of your observations?
Yes.
Why?
There appeared to be a substantial amount of blood on it.
Then I can see some areas that appear to be staining on a carpet or rug. Do you see the areas that are depicted on this picture? Okay.
Exactly.
Now, you indicated in your testimony there was an area on the floor that you saw a substantial amount of what, in your opinion, was blood. Is that an area depicted in Exhibit 55?
Yeah, I had mentioned the pooling of blood on the floor. This is the pooling of blood I was talking about right here.
Okay. And there are other reddish or brown stains at many locations on this carpet. Is that consistent with what you saw that day?
Yes, it was everywhere.
Okay. And do you have an opinion as to what that was in the context of everything else you saw and know from this investigation?
It appeared to be blood.
It's not really
now,
my
you indicated
definition
a
of
couch,
everywhere.
L-shaped couch. Is that depicted in picture 55?
I'd like a different angle,
Yeah, so this
like
is
the
going to
rest
be
of the room.
the front side of that L-shaped couch with the back of it coming out this way.
And if we go to the right side of this picture, okay, so past where the bike is, where are we in the house or the apartment at that point? Just to orient us.
So directly to the right of whoever took the photo is going to be the television stand. And then there's a hallway right here that leads down to the bathroom and bedroom.
Okay. So we haven't talked yet about the bathroom and bedroom, and that was on that diagram. It's on the other end of that apartment, correct?
Correct.
Was there anything that caused you any concern that you remember in the bathroom?
No.
How about in the bedroom?
No.
Was there only one bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. So those two areas appear to you to be untouched, as best you could tell?
Clean. Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to turn your attention from Exhibit 55 to number 220, picture 220. Is 220 a vantage point or a picture that you recall from the 19th of May?
Yeah, so this photo would be standing over top of the L-shaped couch with one side of the couch going this way, the other side of the couch going this way. When I mentioned what appeared to be blood on the back cushion, this is what I was talking about.
And how would you characterize that? Was that just a small amount or a substantial amount? What in your opinion, what is that?
There was a substantial amount of blood. This wasn't just a spray. It was a large amount of blood.
And then what is the object that's located on that couch that we can see sort of in the center of Exhibit 220 or picture 220?
So that's a wallet.
And pursuant to your investigation, did you come to believe that that was Rosalio Gutierrez's wallet?
Yes.
At this time, was his phone located at this time period, if you know?
No, we did not locate a phone initially.
What about his credit cards?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did you, at some point in the afternoon hours, you can go back to your desk, apologize. Did you, at some point in the afternoon hours, come into contact with another individual who arrived on the scene and appeared to know Rosalio Gutierrez?
Yes.
And if you recall, about when was that?
It was about 2:30 p.m.
So you had been there almost 3 hours?
Yes.
And officers had been there for that period as well? You weren't the first there.
Right.
So when Mr. Campbell arrived, he had not been called to the scene, to your knowledge?
No.
When he arrived, did you speak to him?
Myself and Detective Correa did, correct.
And what, if anything, can you say about his demeanor when he arrived at the scene?
He was extremely worried, concerned about the welfare of Rosalio.
How did he know to arrive if you know?
Objection calls for speculation and hearsay.
Let's see, how do I rephrase that? Pursuant to your investigation, did you come to have an idea how Michael Campbell knew to arrive at the scene?
Yes.
And what was that?
I'm going to object. It honestly calls for double hearsay, Judge.
You have an idea. It covers a lot of turf.
Yeah, it's really not for the truth of the matter. It's simply to orient how this person arrives there and sort of what happens next.
Well, if it's not for the truth of the matter, then
it's not relevant.
Usually not relevant.
Well,
Bank process.
when you said Mr. Campbell was highly concerned, what else can you say about what your observations were of his physical state when you saw him?
He was worried. He said that Rosalia was a
speculation.
Unless it's another excited utterance, in which
rephrase your
case
question.
Yeah.
defense will be all
we're
over
getting
this.
into a lot of supposition, and I've caught the scent of some real hearsay.
He appeared worried. He made statements to me that confirm that. Based on my experience as a
Based on the
detective.
demeanor of Mr. Campbell, what happened next? So you saw him. Did you ask him some questions? And I'm not asking the answers. Did you ask him some questions?
I did.
And what was your impression of his level of cooperation or forthcomingness in terms of your experience as a police officer and investigator?
What does that matter?
Having arrived at the scene?
NWA
My
man.
impression
fuck
of
police.
Mr. Campbell was that he was concerned for a close friend of his,
Okay.
who he hadn't heard of from in multiple days in a row. He was concerned.
Without talking about without talking about the content of
Judge,
what,
I'm going to object and ask that the last comment be struck from the record as far as what he did, what Mr. as non-responsive, and also it calls again for hearsay as to what
It
Mr.
does.
Campbell said.
It certainly, this is why I was concerned about the scent of hearsay. What the testimony that the detective has given is, the appearances of whether someone appears anxious. Those are conclusions we all reach in our everyday lives, and that's okay. But when you encounter someone, even under these kind of circumstances, you really don't know what the person was anxious about. And
This gets into
he
hearsay territory
reports
for
what
sure.
the other person said. If he's relating what was actually stated by the person, that qualifies as hearsay, generally. And
Yeah, Flex got it.
And then the impression that the detective
Exactly,
has
Zenith.
expressed, which is his conclusion from the whole incident, includes not only the hearsay, but also his own conclusion from it. And as I say, in our everyday lives, that is how thoughts are expressed.
That's such
It's not admissible in court. So I'm going to.
If I die in my house, the first time anyone will know is when the neighbors complain of the smell.
briefly again, Judge.
I'll tell you what, you'll probably be shocked that the Court of Appeals just automatically conclude that everything I do is right. They want, when there are discussions about evidence, they really want them taken down so they can see what I was thinking when I made a ruling on it. So if you want me to re-examine that issue, you're welcome to say so and why.
I like how he used that as an explanation for why he's so
record.
descriptive in
Yeah,
his decisions.
Clearly,
so
one of the
the
themes
Court of
for
Appeals
the
knows
defense,
exactly what he was
you're asking me
thinking.
to do it now. Is if I understood the court correctly?
It was my impression, now here, I'm in the conclusion
Okay.
business too. It was my impression that you felt that the ruling was not exactly correct.
I thought I had additional information that might assist the court
Before the
Don't
defense
get
testimony.
brazen with
in
me.
terms of where I was going.
Morning break yet, did we? And I promised the jury.
Favorite.
Let's take a break and then I'll chat with these people. Please don't talk about the case during the break.
We will.
How long is the break, Judge? How long
Tell
do I
us.
have to fill space? Judge?
Well, I have thoughts, so I can help. Well, should I begin?
Zenith, and by the way, folks, she said I could mention this. Zenith Anderson is the sister of the defendant.
Oh.
So she said I could mention that. So
What was
so
her
far,
comment just
Right
now?
around the corner too.
3 people have shown up to the crime scene, all because they were worried they hadn't heard
For
from their
people like me
friend.
Who actually drink tap
How is that
water,
not suspicious?
as long as it's not from
Timing.
New Palestine.
Oh, jeez.
What? What are we talking? Why did you
He
reference
said
that?
I guess they're talking about for drinking water. He said, "Do people still drink tap water?" He said, "I guess it's okay as long as it's not from East Palestine."
Oh my God, this
No.
is another let's get some Asian food for lunch moment.
Yes.
He's gonna be reamed for that one a little. Oh my God. I love this judge. I have to say, I love him. He's hilarious.
We have Mr. Campbell arriving at the scene without explanation, and we have certainly the defense has suggested that certain other things should have been investigated. I believe that the
Hayden will be
detective
here.
would be able to provide a factual circumstance as to why he did not proceed to begin to investigate Mr. Campbell and was instead oriented in other directions. Obviously, why officers conducted themselves at each point in this investigation is of direct relevance. That was really the theme of the defense opening here. And so I'm not suggesting, Michael Campbell's testifying, right? So again, it's going to be subject to cross-examination. But what information was shared with the detective that caused the detective to have no concern about the fact that Michael Campbell had shown up at this scene, from my perspective, is relevant to describe what the motivation of the officer is or why the officer did what he did next, which is in this case, did not believe that Michael Campbell was worthy of additional investigation or follow-up based on that moment, based on that incident. So again, it's all about the police investigation and what motivates them to do each thing, because that's, of course, been put into direct question. Thank you.
Okay.
Just because there's a defense theory or theme in place and that it may address Michael Campbell doesn't mean that the hearsay rules and the rules of evidence don't apply.
Well,
She is intense. I like her.
She's consistent.
I think
Firm.
what he's saying is that what he's seeking is not being offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted, which would make it non-hearsay.
But then why is he looking to offer it?
Because it disproves something to which you open the door.
But I don't have to prove or disprove anything. So if he's looking to use that to provide an explanation, then it might not be the truth of the matter asserted for simply that point, but it is the truth of the matter asserted for then why law enforcement did or didn't do something. And
No, but that's not the assertion. The assertion is the
That is a
content
good
of
point. The
Campbell
defense
said.
doesn't have to prove a goddamn
That's the assertion.
thing.
I mean, at the end of the day, Judge, I guess what I'm struggling with understanding here is that if the state's going to continuously ask what another individual said, and it's true that he will be subject to cross-examination, but he's not subject to cross-examination right now. So there should be an order of witnesses that if they intend on using Mr. Campbell's statements to justify further means and ends, then they should have called Michael Campbell to the stand first and then had this officer testify. I'm not sure what rule allows the state to proceed in introducing statements of other witnesses when they are using it to establish why things weren't done. So it is being used for the truth of the matter asserted.
First off, I think that confrontation is off the table. It strikes me it's not testimonial, at least not at this point. And I think he's offering it to respond to the accusation that you've made that the police did an inadequate investigation and not to prove the truth of what it is that Mr. Campbell claimed. And that would be true even if Mr. Campbell were not available. But if he's available for cross, then to the extent that there would be any testimonial component or hearsay component, that should be eradicated by his availability and your cross. So
I have nothing further on the issue, Judge.
Okay.
So I just wanted to tell the court when I inartfully, I think that's the word, right?
It's a word, but I'm not sure it's appropriate.
Well, it's because I'm not far along yet.
Inelegantly?
Inartfully raised the same theory regarding the utterances of Sadie Beecham. I was doing the same thing. As the court recalls, Sadie Beecham has been specifically mentioned in the opening. And so what she said to the officer about why, for instance, the officers, what the jury knows right now is that the officers heard from her and then they disengaged from her and they walked in the scene. That fits right into the defense theory. You got yourself a suspect right here. What do? You say, see you later. I'm
That was
highly paraphrasing.
heavily
but,
litigated. That can't be a suspect.
Finish.
But the point is, if you are trying to point out that officers are doing things in the wrong order, leaving things out, not doing it, then the information that they are receiving that causes them to do it. So in this case, my offer of proof is Sadie Beecham said, I'm terrified that my ex did this, and now I am prioritizing. I am so worried about the safety of my kids. I'm begging you to let me leave to go get my kids safe, and I'll come back. Okay, this is what she said. And so the officers let her do that, and she returns back later that afternoon with her daughter. Okay, so again, what otherwise could be depicted as, you got yourself a witness here, and you just let her leave, and you're not talking to her again for, X number of hours. It's explained by what the officers did, what their information is. So again, I'm not offering it for the truth, and she is going to be back. She's, Sadie Beecham is testifying in this case. What she said to the officer and whether it's legitimate and all those will all be able to be challenged. But that information to the officer is completely relevant to why he makes the decisions he does in terms of the order things happen in this case. Thank you.
I don't agree.
Okay.
I have nothing further on the point, Judge.
Well, I think Mr. Gravely has been premature in throwing himself on his sword because I'm just picking up on it now, so I'm the one who didn't catch it right away. And the reason is it's so commonplace for the prosecutor, and not always just the prosecutor, but usually will try to fetch a little bit of extra hearsay out of the police officers by asking for some hearsay-ish information, and then when there's an objection, say, well, it's just being used to explain why he acted as he did next. And usually the response to that, as you correctly noted, is it's irrelevant. And it is. But this time, it actually is relevant because of your opening statement.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
looking at it that way, it is proper questioning.
And then I would just ask that if these questions are going to be elicited, then I want to make the record now that I would cross-examine on those statements with this officer prior to the other individual testifying then.
The order in which he calls his witnesses. We talked about risk the other day, and we're back there because if the witness doesn't testify, then there could be an issue, although I think I've made clear, I don't think that these are confrontation issues or hearsay issues.
Captain Bipto speaks as one who knows.
And
seriously.
So even if the witness ultimately does not testify, I don't think it would cause any problems.
I think though, in the situation where if they're eliciting testimony of what another witness would say for this purpose, that at the end, the defense would seek a curative instruction that the jury should not consider those statements for.
There's a limit to what he's going to be allowed to draw out, and so we need to be aware of that, and I'm sure he is. And if he questions to such an extent that large amounts of information are coming out that indeed become testimonial, then that's another issue altogether. But right now, I think we're still above the level of the water. So let's take 10 minutes and then.
Wait, you just said take 10 minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks.
10 more minutes. All right.
Well, I liked watching that. It's interesting.
All right. You said you had comments. Comment. Go ahead.
I did have comments.
Unload.
Okay, so as a non-lawyer, paralegal, kind of law nerd type person, I have been taking practice bar exam questions and learning different things about the law. So I was going to make a comment that I feel that, first of all, at first I felt strongly that defense was raising very reasonable objections, and I think it goes to the best evidence rule, essentially, but I could be wrong. So best evidence as in, is this police officer the most qualified person to testify to the state of mind of the individuals who he is saying that he interacted with, their fears. It does go into hearsay, but it's very muddied because of the excited utterance factor, particularly with Sadie Beecham. So I guess my mind kind of changed a little bit because I did not see her opening, and I did not realize that she kind of opened the door to that in her opening statement, where she specifically referenced Sadie Beecham. Now, I don't know exactly what she said, but I appreciate Schroeder sort of explaining everything. He's very good at entering things into the record. He makes things easier to understand for people in the courtroom, and I like that. He's not just talking to the attorneys, but also like the people in the gallery when the jury's not present. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. I was thinking best evidence. I'm probably wrong.
Well, I get what you're saying. I mean, he wasn't even the first officer on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
There'd been other people there. Why can't they testify to it?
I was going to say, I think that the prosecutor didn't prepare his witness adequately in terms of how to specifically answer those questions. You're supposed to do that in prep. You're supposed to help a witness, say things in a way that is not hearsay. You're supposed to ask questions that prevent it from being hearsay, because obviously you want their statements to go on the record. So I think there's some problems with that. But anyway, I'm sorry, I interrupted what you were saying about the witness in particular. I'm more focused on the prosecutor, but he is there is something a little odd about him. What are you picking up on? It's his demeanor, kind of.
Just his look, not his appearance, his look. If that makes sense. It's
like the look on his face. It's his expression, right?
Mannerisms, expressions, the weird, crazy eyes that he gives.
His eyes are kind of bugging out of his head a little bit.
But I can't. It's kind of hard to put my finger on it exactly. It's just something weird. And I mean, he's been going essentially now for an hour, 2 hours. Jeez, 2 hours.
Oh, really?
So they came back. Well, about an hour and a half. We'll give them an hour and a half.
That witness, I thought, okay.
And I'm still thinking, So after every sentence, after everything he says, I just think, so how does this prove this person's guilt?
Right.
I mean, you should always be advancing your case. Every sentence, every question, everything you do should move you one step closer to persuading the jury that your client should be found. I mean, the defendant should be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Certainly.
I mean, I know he's just laying the scenario out, giving the groundwork, just sort of giving you the visuals. But then you say he strays off into these weird, well, this is what she was thinking, this is what she was feeling, and this is weird. It's just he's a weird witness, and I'm tired of being yelled at by the prosecutor.
Yeah, he is a little shouty. He does kind of lean into the mic and, over amplify his voice. But I would think that a detective working for this police department who has, I don't know how many times he's been an expert witness, I would think that he would understand how to make statements that don't enter into the realm of hearsay. It's very important to do that, because if you're a witness and you're testifying to what somebody else said or did, and there's an exception rule like the excited utterance rule. For people who don't know what that is, it's like, when somebody says something in the heat of the moment that speaks to the event because they are a witness. Like, did you see that guy? He just ran into that pole, or, that's an excited utterance. So,
oh my God, Bill stabbed Susie. That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Or, it must have been that, whatever it is, as a witness. So even when there's an exception, it's very important to be careful about that, because if you're testifying and you say something in the wrong way, not only can it mislead the jury, but it can be stricken from the record. And then that makes the whole thing very confusing. I've always found it kind of unsettling. It's like what Schrader, is it Schrader or Schroeder, the judge? Schroeder. So what Schroeder was saying about how sometimes prosecutors sneakily get that thing in there where they'll get their witness to kind of say something, like we saw Sean Betts do it on stand in the Johnny Depp trial, kind of making statements that once you say it out loud, the cat's out of the box, the jury's heard it, it's going to be stricken from the record, but the jury won't forget it,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if I don't see the prosecutor as being sneaky and doing that. It seems like Schroeder's on his side. But I think that Schroeder's being very fair.
Well, Holloway says, in the heat of the moment. And Michael May asked a very important question. Does Chandler have her own channel?
I do not.
Despite encouraging her and telling her she definitely needs a YouTube channel, but frankly, you got law school coming up. That'll take a lot of time.
I have law school applications this year. I have been thinking about starting my own channel. This is literally the first day that I've had better internet so that I can actually be in the stream without going sideways or leaving accidentally in the middle and having to come back 7 or 8 times. You guys have all been very patient with me. But the fact that I've had all these technical difficulties and you're still asking if I have my own channel, that means a lot to me. Thank you, Mike. I would like to create my own channel. Hopefully
you can get her on
you'll have
Twitter.
That to look forward to. Yes.
Twitter, Remy_legal, REMY_legal.
Easier to remember than my previous username.
Definitely a based and unbreaded defender of men's rights. She's a reformed feminist. We like her.
Yeah, I'm all for equality.
She's red-pilled.
I'm a human rights advocate, and I used to want to be a human rights attorney. And I'm not saying that's not in my future, but I'm leaning more towards intellectual property law. Entertainment law is my background as a paralegal in the film industry. So I appreciate the compliments. Being called base, that's always very flattering, but being called unbreaded is that's like a top-notch compliment. Thank you, Jeff. Coming from a very unbreaded and based person such as yourself, I am very flattered.
It just calls them as I sees them. You should definitely subscribe or whatever you do to Twitter people.
Follow. You follow people.
We follow.
Follow
them,
me. Yeah. Follow me.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Remy, REMY_legal. Next, we've got Unhung Hero. Sorry. Unhung Hero. Not sure if you're keeping tabs, but a Murdoch juror was dismissed for discussing the case with outside people. And I was seeing something about she brought a dozen eggs to the courtroom. That's weird, if that's true. Fondin, $5. Thank you so much. All must become the subs of the law racks and like it.
Were they bribes?
Yeah, bribing you with eggs. I got a dozen eggs. Holy shit. Trying to catch up. Didn't get redirected. Remember, phone down
Mecca
when
lecca
driving.
hi, mecca hi ho.
Nice Pee Wee Herman
Eggman.
blast there. Nice Pee Wee's Playhouse blast. Awesome. You just like went up
that's
53
tricky.
notches on my coolness factor just with that alone.
Oh, thank you. I'm a big fan of John B.
Are you a big fan
I would
of
watch
the...
it every single morning before school when I was in second grade, eating a blueberry granola bar. I remember it very vividly.
Wow.
The what, Jeff?
No, I'm sorry. I'm still like freaking out. That was like unexpected, and that was way cool.
Well, you got to do the word of the day on your stream now. I feel.
Oh, I've honestly wanted to do that. Like, honest
really?
to God, just like the word of the day, you know, whether it be like grounds or objection or something like that.
Ouch.
Oh God,
Yeah, it's a running theme. It's something I've done like with my friends over the years. Like we'll pick out the word of the day, and then we all have to, you know, like do the whole like, you know, when somebody says it, like, you know, I don't know if like we put on a sound effect or whatever, but it's like a family thing, a friend things that I've done for, you know, ages. Big fan of of Pee-wee's Playhouse and Pee-wee's Big Adventure, definitely also an excellent movie.
Oh no, see, and my brother lives in San Antonio, so I'm just throwing Pee-wee shit at him all the time. Alamo jokes, asking if he's like visited the basement of the Alamo yet, or just all the time. But now, I was gonna say, are you a fan of the farmer in Pee-wee's Playhouse?
Oh my God! Wait, the farmer. I'm trying to remember the farmer. It's been more than 20 years. Sorry, you'll have to remind me.
Really?
The farmer?
Yes, he played the farmer character. Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How do I not remember the farmer?
Really?
I don't. I remember Zombie. I remember Natasha Lyonne, you know, in earlier episodes. I remember Cherry and Terry and, you know, all of the, you know, I remember the theme song very well.
Now everybody's like, what the hell happened to the trial? What are you guys talking about?
Oh, who cares? Doesn't matter. I mean, we don't have enough yet. Like basically it's a good trial. It's an interesting trial. We have competent representation for both sides. I'm enjoying the back and forth. I'm learning about law. You know, let's take a break and enjoy it. Honestly, talk about something else. Like there's been so much law talk. Does it always have to be law talk? I love law talk, but you know. Anyway, no, I don't remember the farmer, but I'm gonna have to go and watch clips now.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, him! Oh my God! Yes, I do remember him. I didn't
that's Larry
remember him
Fishburne
as the
right
farmer.
there.
That is a very heterosexual man in that costume.
It's a long way to choose the red pill or the blue pill, Neo.
The story ends.
Yeah. So there we go. That's Lawrence Fishburne in Pee-wee's Playhouse.
That is fabulous. I do remember the costume very well. I was probably too young to really be aware of actors at that point, so I was just like,
Super
who's
Dave
that guy?
Osborne. And Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman was also in Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh, I love Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman is excellent.
Oh yes. Our whoosh for us Brits. Now,
you gotta watch it.
You well, see, you can whoosh on the people in the States with the mighty boosh. Noel Fielding is one of the funniest, craziest motherfuckers ever to walk planet Earth. I could watch. Yeah, he's Morpheus now from the Matrix. He's also in John Wick. He was also in Apocalypse Now. But yeah, no, the mighty boosh is sort of like Britain's answer to Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's got Noel Fielding, who is one of
I've
the
heard of it. I've heard of
the
the Mighty
most
Boosh.
esoteric, wildly weird comedians that you'll ever see. Noel Fielding is the man.
I'll have to
love
check it
Noel
out.
Fielding. Oh, I hurt laughing with Noel Fielding. Yeah, that's true. All right, let's continue these here with the trial here. What is the obsession history of this defendant? I'm not familiar with the case until recently. The allegation is that he didn't want to break up, and so therefore he was stalking the ex-girlfriend by using burner phones as GPS location devices, planting them in her car or whatnot, putting listening devices around dude's house, doing some window peeping with the daughter, and he just got so jealous that he went in and did all of this stuff. That's the allegations from the prosecution, and we'll see what if anything they prove. Unhung hero again, off topic, but does the defense attorney have a birthmark on her right cheek, or is her makeup smeared? It's a birthmark. We can stop talking about it.
Yeah, she seems very put together.
I wish I was drunk. How are we, lads and lasses? I know I'm very late. Hey,
better late than never.
Is never late. He arrives exactly when he means to. Again, D. Watt says he's Morpheus from the Matrix. For those that don't know, he's also in John Wick, as we just said. And that's no farmer. He was a cowboy. That's what I meant. I was thinking Mr. Green Jeans from Captain Kangaroo. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's why. Because is he billed on IMDb as the farmer or the cowboy? Because visually, I do recognize him, certainly.
That was Cowboy. It wasn't Cowboy Bob.
I got IMDb this now.
Cowboy Curtis.
Things like that drive me
Curtis.
Yes, Cowboy Curtis. Oh my God, that's right. Sorry for yelling. I'm very. Whenever I figure out, that happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
I forget things, and then when I find out, I get really excited. But yeah, I don't remember him. Did he feature in very many episodes? Was he a prominent character?
Oh, he was there all the time. Yeah, he's there a lot.
Pee-wee's Playhouse. Yeah, I definitely watched it syndicated, but I really liked it.
Didn't the guy that played Zombie die like a year or two ago?
Did he? Oh, that would be very sad. John Paragon. He did die
like
2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. He was great.
Yeah,
I love Zombie. Zombie is awesome. Well, celebrity death news.
I'm like weirdly amazing at things like Trivial Pursuit. My brain is so packed full of useless crap that I there's no room for any actually useful information in my head anymore. Cowboy Bob Orton, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yeah,
oh my
I'm the
God,
same way. I'm like
freaking me out. Like no Gnu's is good Gnu's with Gary Gnu. Oh my God. Great Space Coaster. Get on board. Wow. Now, see, Eric Folmes, if you're talking HR, it's HR puffin stuff, not Huff and Puff. Close enough, but you're old.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a trip. That show.
All the Sid and Marty Krofft shows were just drug-addled things.
I can't believe that was ever on air. Like, HR puffin stuff. Who's your friend when things get rough? HR.
How do you know HR? You
can do a little, but you can't do enough. Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of classic old weird media. So I love a lot of obscure bands. My mom has really good taste, so she taught me well from the time I was a kid. And I would just watch stuff on YouTube all the time when I was 15, whatever. I was super artsy. And so, yeah, HR Puff and stuff. Well, sometimes when you're a big stoner.
Trial so that people, yeah. I think we need to bring up the trial so people know that we're actually still paying attention to the trial.
We can't just sing the
rails.
I would love to just keep singing the theme songs of various, 90s and backwards TV shows.
Land of the Lost.
Okay.
Not the new movies, the old TV show.
Are we transitioning back into trial talk? Because I can do whatever you like.
No, the trial's still out. They had the new Land of the Lost movies with, I believe it was The Rock that was in them or somebody.
Okay.
But the old TV show, Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition face the greatest earthquake ever known. Yeah, it was a great show. Anyway,
I don't know that one.
Wow.
But you might. I like filling in my gaps of TV history.
Hong Kong Phooey and Underdog from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh, I love Rocky and Bullwinkle. That's a great show.
All right, so back to the trial.
Yes, back to the trial. Back to the trial.
People are like, what the hell just happened? The judge leaves for 10 minutes and this thing goes totally up there. No, the slee stacks, they're like the slowest moving people, and they have these just retarded crossbows that shoot
And,
these crossbow bolts
those who
about
were
6 feet.
complaining about the room being
Oh,
hot.
thank God the judge is back. Oh, gray bait. Yeah, gray bait. Underdog. What the fuck? Who's he calling?
What?
The Domino's?
He's ordering a little Asian for lunch.
Ba weep, grana weep, ninny bong? What the fuck is that?
I have no idea.
What the hell is that?
I want to know.
Dude, I was just looking at Hong Kong Fooey gifts, like literally during the break.
Oh, I haven't done that yet.
I was literally looking at Hong Kong Fooey gifts during the break.
Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about.
I love this little exchange. What's going on? I don't know what's happening here, but the faces are great.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I remember when Sister David said that she had eyes in the back of her head, and I was only 5 years old, and I believed her.
Dude, Captain Caveman was my favorite. Captain Caveman!
What about Clutch Cargo?
Ooh.
No?
I was like part of I did like those weird things like Johnny Quest kind of creeped me out. Where they had like the cartoons with like the moving human lips.
Clutch Cargo was like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was
freaked
in
me
Pulp
out.
Fiction. You know that scene where he brings in the watch. You know, he's watching Clutch Cargo before the dad comes in.
Yeah, those things like freaked me out.
Really, really bad. Tom Terrific. Oh my god. Felix the cat.
Cool. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
Oh, I want to listen to that album. I'm a big fan of punk music. Like
see
my whole life, so that's
The
fantastic.
Ramones doing Spider-Man would be good.
I'm into it.
I think I had sustained the objection, and after we conversed some more, I changed my mind. So the objection has been overruled.
Oh, okay.
What did Michael Campbell say to you regarding how he had happened to arrive at this scene at around 2:30 p.m.?
So Michael had said he was a close friend to Rosalio, that they communicated regularly, and he hadn't heard from him in a couple days. They worked together, they're friends. He also stated that he spoke with an Eileen Knoll, who was also a friend of Rosalio, and Rosalio was doing work at her residence at the time. Eileen said that Rosalio had not showed up to work at her residence multiple days in a row, and that she had not heard from him either.
I'm so doing the
so
word
he
of the
was
day
coming
from
to
now
check.
on.
You should.
Coming to Rosalio's
Totally
apartment.
doing it.
Correct.
Be a fabulous feature.
And
High
when
five.
you dealt with Mr. Campbell,
Love it.
how was his as people either approach you or you approach people as an investigator? Are there individuals who, when you ask them questions or are obtaining information from them, they appear to be reluctant to provide you either any information or full information about the questions you have? Do those people exist in your work?
They do, yes.
And are there also people you come across in your work who, when you ask a question, are actually trying to volunteer every fact they can think of? In fact, they're the exact opposite. They are trying to volunteer every piece of information from, again, your perspective as a professional dealing with individuals all the time.
Yes.
And
Stingy,
if
come on.
any of those are characteristic of Mr. Campbell, or if it's something else, what, if anything, can you say about Mr. Campbell's demeanor and attitude in that regard in your interaction with him at the scene?
So Mr. Campbell, when he got there, he sought us out. He was looking for us to speak to. And he provided, in a concerned fashion, the information that he gave us. I didn't feel as though he was withholding information. I don't feel as though he was hiding information. He answered all our questions. He elaborated on all his answers, the most knowledge he had to give us. That explains my encounter with him.
Based on your interaction with him, did you feel that you had to hold him or in some way keep him in a place? Or
Judge, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask
Wow.
that the portion of the officer's testimony regarding and we can come up if you need, but a Hasseltine objection on the grounds of what the officer stated about.
It does sound like Hazeltine evidence.
Judge, it doesn't have to do with truth or vouching for the truth. It has to do with, again, motivating what kind of decision you can make. If one individual is in some way appears to not be providing you full information, you have one sort of course of conduct as an officer, and you have to prioritize. If you have an individual where your impression, for whatever truth it is the opposite of that, and you're getting all the identifying information, obviously you prioritize other investigative avenues at that time.
Arguing no.
I thought you wanted me to. I apologize.
Well, no. I'm talking about your presenting the argument that's reserved for the later part of the case, not arguing the objection. The problem is I do think it's Hazeltine evidence. It's almost a dead ringer from the social worker testifying about believing or not believing an informant. He just made a judgment.
And it's not about, it's about level of cooperation. Apologize.
Let's do it this way. The officer's testimony is that having completed his discussion with Mr. Campbell, he felt satisfied that he didn't pursue anything further with him at that point. That is, you cannot accept the officer's conclusion as accurate. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not saying it is. That's why you're here. He made a judgment based upon his what he heard, and made some conclusions from it. That doesn't mean what
the trial is happening, Kelsey.
Is that clear? I'm sure I could improve on that explanation, but the point is that when we talked about Hazeltine, there was a famous case where a witness who had interviewed an accuser in a case testified that, and it was, I think it was a social worker.
She's right, though.
That she thought that the accuser was being accurate in what she was telling the social worker. That's not permitted, because that is, the social worker is not allowed to decide the truth of it. That's for the jury. So we don't allow witnesses to speculate on the accuracy of statements made by others. On the other hand, people aren't in court all the time, and so they make their judgments based upon the world in which they live. And the detective exists in the world of investigating crimes and makes judgments. You refer to them as priorities. But none of that is conclusive on you folks. So to the extent that this testimony has been given, it can be considered only to
yes, Judge.
on the issue of the quality of the police investigation, it may not be considered as supportive of the truth or accuracy of what Mr. Campbell stated. Any question about that? Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I want to read the
Were you able
citation.
to obtain identifying
7.
information on how to reach Mr. Campbell again in this case?
Yes, we got name, address, phone number. He provided everything.
And was there any difficulty at all in getting him to agree to give you that information?
No.
When Mr. Campbell talked about other people that he was engaged with and talking about, et cetera, what can you say about his level of cooperation in providing collateral numbers or ways to contact those people?
Mr. Campbell provided everything that he knew regarding phone numbers, addresses, all that. He was very forthcoming.
Based on all of the things we've talked about, did you believe it was appropriate to finish your conversation with Mr. Campbell and get back to the rest of the investigation of this case at that time?
Yes, he presented no reason to hold him or to further question at that time. He was free to leave. He left.
And I want to go back to our conversation regarding Sadie Beecham. Okay, now again, that conversation was before you went into the residence, right?
Correct. It was ultimately the first thing I did was talk to her.
Went talk to her, and you mentioned that she was physically shaking and she appeared frightened for her children. Am I correctly summarizing that?
Yeah, she was very scared.
Okay. So one possible investigative avenue would have been to immediately take her down to the station and walk her through some more details. In other words, not just briefly have her tell you what she knew, but be very detailed about it at that first moment. That would have been a possible thing to do. Is that right?
Yes.
Were there concerns expressed by Sadie Beecham that caused you to feel that that should not be how you prioritized?
Yes.
If so, what were they?
Based on everything she had witnessed, everything that she had experienced, she felt as though her children were in danger, and she needed to get to them.
And why did she feel they were in danger in general? What was she saying to you in that initial interview that caused you to say, yeah, that's something I'm going to prioritize. I'm going to allow that to be the priority?
Because she knew, she was aware that Zach Anderson knew where the children were at that moment. So she needed to get to them and bring them somewhere where he wouldn't know where they are.
And when you say Zach Anderson, is that a person you now know in this investigation?
Yes, the defendant. So
for the purposes of our record today, when you have referred to a person named Zach Anderson, can you point out who that person is? Say what they're wearing today.
He's sitting in a defendant chair in the middle with a gray suit, tan and blue tie.
Well, I don't like him saying.
Now,
he's sitting in
as
the
Sadie Beecham was expressing
table.
her worries about the safety of her children with with Zachariah Anderson, the defendant, knowing their location, was she still manifesting those physical shakings and scared things you've talked about so far?
Yes.
Based on what she told
They're
you,
just
the content of
amplifiers,
what she said, and
listening
what you
devices.
observed about her physically, did you make a decision about whether she would be allowed to take care of that priority before you interviewed her further?
Yeah, she provided where the children were, where she was taking them, and that she would be coming back as soon as that was completed.
And was there anything about her demeanor that caused you concern about her level of cooperation, such that you might feel you had to take other steps, to preserve an ability to be in touch with her?
No, she was genuinely scared.
How do you know? How do you
Consequently,
know?
were you able to again interact with Sadie Beecham later that afternoon?
Yes.
And had, to your knowledge, had she been given the time to accomplish the priority she had?
Yeah, I believe she was, she left that scene after talking with her roughly 1 o'clock, 1:30ish. And
victim's mother?
I met her again at about 3:45.
Okay, now I want to now bring you back so everything we've talked about so far has occurred in the afternoon hours, starting at 11 a.m., but now the afternoon hours of May 19th. Is that correct?
Correct.
At some point, did you have occasion to know that the defendant had been placed in custody?
Yes.
And if you know, what jurisdiction or was it Kenosha police officers who placed him in custody, if you know?
No, it was Mequon Police Department.
And did he eventually have occasion to be in your presence?
Yes.
Where were you present with him? Were you in Mequon or in Kenosha?
He was arrested in Mequon, brought to Kenosha.
So your interaction with him was in Kenosha?
Yes.
And if I indicated that appears to have begun at any interview of him occurred to have begun at 10:48 p.m. on the 19th, 10:49 p.m. on the 19th of May 2020. Do you believe that to be accurate?
Yes.
And am I correct that the interview ended at approximately 12:18 a.m. on what would then be the 20th of May?
That's accurate, yes.
So if I'm doing the calculation, that is 1 hour and 29 minutes. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. And did you Mirandize him? In other words, read him his rights during that interaction?
Yes, he was read as Miranda rights.
And during that interaction, how many people were involved in any questioning of the defendant?
It was myself, Detective Correa, and Mr. Anderson.
And was he in an open area or was he in an interview room? What sort of environment was he in?
So we were in an interview room. Detective Correa on one side of the table, Mr. Anderson on the other side of the table, and I was sitting in between.
And at the point that you came in contact with him, had you received guidance as to what the defendant was aware of about any circumstances regarding Rosalio Gutierrez? In other words, had you been made aware that he had some knowledge of some subject matter as you began to speak to him?
Yes, it was my understanding Mequon PD had informed him why they took him into custody, and he knew why he was coming to talk with us.
And so do you believe he had an awareness based on the information you were provided that an individual named Rosalio Gutierrez had disappeared?
Yes.
So you believe he knew that at 10:49 p.m. on the 19th of May?
I'm going to object as far as speculation as to what he believed Mr. Anderson knew.
Well, Judge, again,
And if it's not speculation, then there's been a lack of foundation.
Again, it goes to what the officer did at what point in time.
If I may respond to that, Judge.
Go ahead.
Thank you. This isn't getting to why the officer did something, or this is getting into statements of Mr. Anderson and what Mr. Anderson believed to be or not to be. I think we need to make a clear distinction between the other witnesses.
Well, this is it's similar to the other witnesses, but this is a huge amount of speculation, and it's explanatory only on the issue of why the police acted as they did, which in and of itself is only is usually not an issue that we examine in any depth. There is, however, a claim in this case, which has been made by the defense, that the police did a inadequate investigation. And so to some extent, we're scrutinizing, well, you're scrutinizing the adequacy of the investigation in terms of the ultimate issue for you, which is the pursuit of the truth of this incident. His conclusion from what he heard from the defendant is totally insufficient to establish what the defendant was thinking, and is explanatory only of why he acted as he did in furtherance of the investigation. So I'm going to let the question be answered, but you must understand that under no circumstances are his conclusions legally adequate to base a verdict as to the truth of anything in our strictly for explanation of course of the police investigation. Is that clear?
Wow, what'd they
Okay, thank
ask?
you. Go ahead.
And because of the hour, I'm going to move on to another topic, and at some other time, I'm going to come back to the interview, just because I don't want to chop that up.
Would
I'll
you
let you know.
wish?
So I just explained to the court why I'm changing topics after the
Yeah.
court ruled. Detective, did the Kenosha Police Department do some searching at a residence that they believed was owned and occupied by the defendant on May 19th, 2020?
Yes,
And was that address 6813 West Highland Road in the Mequon area?
yes,
And on the 19th of May, were you in any way involved in that search?
no, I didn't partake in any searches there that day.
And was that partly because you instead were involved in interviewing the defendant?
Correct.
Okay. On the 20th of May, were you part of a return to that address at 6813 West Highland Road to check out additional areas and to do additional search for evidence?
Yes,
And was that during the daylight hours?
yes,
And you hoped that being there during the daylight hours, I assume, would assist you in searching the property. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay. Do you recall in general, can you in general describe that property? In other words, how do you get there? How do you get in there? And what in general do we have that you needed to look at?
Yeah, so it was a gravel driveway entering the property. There was a house and several outbuildings, including a couple garages, a couple old like chicken coop areas, a couple lean-to parking areas, some sheds, and I remember there being a camper parked on the property as well.
And when you got there on the 20th, did you observe vehicles that were of some interest to you at that time?
Yes, there was a black Audi sedan and a black Chrysler minivan.
And had those vehicles in some fashion come up in your interview with the defendant on the 19th?
Yes.
Come back, Chandler.
I'm going to show you now what's been marked as State's Exhibit 1, Photo 254. Just ask you briefly if you recognize that item from your search of that Mequon area residence on May 20th.
Yes, that's the black Chrysler minivan that I saw at the residence.
And
ticket
did
or a
that
church lunch
vehicle appear to be
flyer in
owned
the
by the defendant, if you know?
I don't recall.
Okay. Then at some point, first of all, did you actually search that vehicle, or did you just observe the interior of that vehicle?
So I looked in the side and rear windows of the van. I never went inside.
And what could you, in general, observe from the inside of that van?
Observed container of Clorox bleach wipes, an opened box of garbage bags in the back. I observed that the rear seats were out of the minivan. I also observed that there was a large piece of carpeting removed from the back. About a third of the carpeting in the back area had been roughly cut out. And the carpet that remained had several white blotches on it that appeared to be like a bleach stain.
I'm going to show you now. I'm going to show you now what's been marked as Exhibit 1, Photo 263. Is that a vantage point or a view that you believe you observed in the context of May 20th, 2020?
So that's with the tailgate up, the lift gate up on the back. But yeah, I was peering through the window of the van, and that's what I observed.
This is the vantage point.
Are they saying this is the missing
This is what you
carpet
saw
they
when
were
you looked
talking
inside.
about?
Yes.
I guess so.
So if you could take, if the court would indulge us and let you have that pointer again, then I'd ask you to approach and first point out to me where the items that appear to you to be bleach stained.
I don't need to talk.
The freaking DA doesn't need a microphone.
Where's the area that you felt appeared to be bleach stains?
This whole area here, some here.
Because see, the DA said that
And then
there's like
the
a
area that
missing
you said was
swatch
about,
of
I think you said about a
carpet in the
third
van.
that was rough cut. Is
That's like
that
the
area
whole
depicted
back
in this?
third.
And if so, can you just point that out in general?
That's a big chunk, yeah.
That's not like someone just took an X-Acto knife and cut out a little part that had some blood spots on it.
It's like
This
you
is
laid the
same
whole
fucking
body right
Yeah.
there.
This is the same fucking thing they did when he said they bought some bleach from Walmart. He didn't buy bleach. He bought the Clorox hand wipes, the wet wipes.
I mean, it's still bleach, so it'll work just as well.
Yeah, that's some serious misrepresentation there.
I don't know if there are other components in those bleach wipes that there's something other than bleach in there, but they could test residue to find that out and match
Well,
it.
it's. I mean, the argument
You're
from the
inquiring about
defense
the area
is
that was
you
cut
can't
out,
clean
correct?
up this
Yeah, if you
type
could
of a
just point that
crime
out to the
scene with
jury.
some
Where's
wet
the area?
wipes.
This whole third back
Looks like there was a
section.
lot of bleach. I
And,
mean, a lot of blood.
Does that area include exposed wires?
It does.
Okay. And exposed sort of bottom of the vehicle because the carpet's out?
Nice.
Correct. This didn't appear like a factory, like how it comes, because the
See, that looks like
under
every utility van I've ever seen in my
area here
life.
was kind of sticking out, and a factory cut would be nice and clean. This was not clean cut.
Now, did you do anything further with the van having made these observations yourself?
That day?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Was the van retained as evidence so that other decisions could be made about the van based on the observations at a later date?
Yes, it was secured and decided that we would take the van.
Okay. From that Highland Road address?
Correct.
And where did it go to, if you know? Only if you know.
The Wisconsin State Crime Lab.
Okay. And what is the Wisconsin State Crime Lab a place that analyzes things like this van, if you know?
Yes.
You can sit back in your chair. And so would that be the logical place you would send it for a more thorough investigation than the Kenosha Police Department is able to do?
Yes. State Crime Lab's probably would do the most thorough job of processing evidence.
I'm going to now ask that you take a look at Exhibit 1, Picture 271.
I don't know how much more of this prosecutor, this DA's voice
Is
I
that
can listen to.
a vehicle or a vantage point you recognize
It's
from the
grating.
residence?
Yes, that was the Audi sedan that was parked in the driveway.
Had this also come up in the interview?
Yes.
All right. And so that was also at his residence on the 20th when you arrived?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to search the house itself?
Yes, I went through it.
Do you recall how much land we're talking about here?
I believe it's 4 acres.
And did you have an opportunity to search the outbuildings that you described?
Some of them, yes. I personally, some of them.
Did you have a crew of people with you that day?
Yes.
Do you believe that, and was it Kenosha Police Department?
Yes.
Do you believe that all the buildings were searched on the 19th and the 20th?
Yes.
And were the grounds searched as well?
Yes.
Was there anything of note or interest to you, knowing that you've talked about the weather conditions over the last few days before and the heavy rain? Was there any anything of note in the outdoor area that was of any interest to you, particularly knowing that it had been raining?
Yes, there was a larger sized fire pit that was smoldering
Sounds like how you described one of my
directly behind the residence in a grassy area.
A large
And
smoldering
can we see
fire
that
pit.
general area in this picture or not really?
Just here, I can point.
Yeah, if it's partially depicted.
Oh, he
Is it the
pronounces this as an,
defendants?
he pronounces this as an Udi, I believe he said. These are Udi
Oh, I love
cars,
that.
if I recall correctly how he
Go back.
pronounced them.
You gotta
This
love the
is an
fun
Udi.
pronunciations. That's great.
And you
Wait,
said
is
that
it
was still smoldering?
defendants, Audi? Udi?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that, what does that mean to you? How were you able to tell it was smoldering?
It appeared the ash in the fire
Man
was still
bun.
burning and creating a smoke from it.
Guilty.
And was it? It looks fairly sunny at the moment you're there on the 20th. Is that at least based on that picture? Were there moments of sunshine on the 20th, that you know of? It's not the 19th. It's the day after, the 20th.
Yes.
Okay. At some point, did you also find that there was a dumpster at the residence?
Oh, dude.
Yes, it's in that picture right there.
Okay. Is it a blue object in the picture?
Yes.
Were the contents of that emptied and looked through?
Yes, we actually had a dump truck or a loader come and dump the contents out in the driveway.
And was there garbage either in the house or attached to the house in some fashion, connected with the house? Garbage bags, garbage cans?
In the dumpster?
Okay. What about in the home?
Yes.
Okay. Was that garbage searched?
Yes.
And was there a trailer located at this home?
Yes, camper.
And did it have debris?
Yes, there was a trailer. There was also a camper trailer.
Okay. So I'm sorry. Okay. So there was a trailer like that somebody would use as a residence or a place they might park at a campground or something?
Yes.
Okay. Was that searched?
Yes.
Okay. Was there also a trailer that someone pulls to move items around?
Yes, it had. It was a sided trailer with some
Even the witness is
furniture
like, stop
and
yelling at me.
like lath.
Maybe
and
that's why he has
other
that look on his face.
construction stuff, I guess. Yeah.
Where was that located at the residence in general?
Next to the dumpster.
Okay. And in that, were the contents of that trailer that we've just talked about also looked at in this case?
Yes, it was thoroughly searched.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 1, picture 274. Is that the trailer we've talked about?
274. That's the
Yes.
decibels. he's
Before it
freaking
was
at.
looked at item by item?
Yes.
And now I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 1, page 275. Is that the same trailer?
Yes.
Is that a vantage point of the trailer that is a way shot of some tools that were located in that trailer?
Yes.
And again, is this before the vehicle itself or the trailer itself was looked at item by item?
Yes.
And then I'm going to show you what's been marked as photo number 276 in Exhibit 1. Is that a close-up of tools located on the defendant's property at Highland Road in that trailer?
2 hammers and a knife.
2 hammers and a knife, and the knife is in a sheath of some kind?
Correct.
And are these all true and accurate pictures? In other words, that's what you remember from the date of?
Yes.
So at some point, did you come to believe that persons who you could identify who had last seen the defendant described him as wearing a flannel shirt.
I'm going to object as far as hearsay. That is being used for the truth of the matter asserted.
It only goes to, again, these are people who are going to testify. It goes to why he would search for this particular item. You know, he's doing a search. It only explains why this item would be an item he is searching for. You recall a flannel shirt being brought up by witnesses saying when they when they last saw the defendant, he was wearing a flannel shirt of a certain type.
Yes.
And were you provided a picture of that flannel shirt?
Yes, I was.
So you knew precisely what sort of shirt and what you were looking for when you did this search warrant on the 19th and the 20th, weren't you?
Yes.
You weren't there the 19th, but on the 20th you were.
On the day of the 20th, I was, one of the key things I was looking for was that flannel shirt.
Okay. So I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 42.
Okay. A shirt. Did Judge
Flannel
Schroeder's
shirt.
Pizza ever arise?
What was that?
Did Judge Schroeder's Pizza ever arrive?
So is that a picture provided you by witnesses
I
so
hope
you
so.
knew what shirt to look for?
Yes, but you see is significantly blurrier than the photo that I have. It was
that better
a lot
not be a
clearer,
2020
the one I
phone.
looked at.
But it does depict the same shirt.
Yes,
Okay. And so you looked for that shirt
I did.
at Highland Road.
Yes.
Did you, was that shirt found in any of the buildings that we've talked about?
I was unable to locate that shirt.
Was it found in any of the garbages that you looked at?
No.
Was it found in any location on that property in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Having seen that a third of the van carpeting of a van on the property appeared to have been not industrially cut out, did that become something you were interested in?
Absolutely.
And so as you searched all of the areas we've talked about, did you look for this van carpeting so that you'd be able to account for it and see if it had any evidentiary value?
Yes.
And did you find that in any part of this property or location?
No.
Were you, had you spoken to witnesses who indicated that they had seen brand new duct tape and brand new rope at the residence just on the day that Rosalio Gutierrez disappeared? Were you told that on that same day, earlier in the day, duct tape and rope had been present at the residence?
Yes.
That was new.
What's that?
That the person believed was new.
Correct. Brand new in packaging.
And did you attempt to search for those items
I
at
did.
the residence?
I did.
Were those items anywhere located at the residence?
No.
Judge, based on me finishing that topic and the next topic being a fairly significant one, I would suggest this is the ideal time to break for lunch.
Ozzy, where are you?
No problem with that, Judge.
Any problem with that? Let's take a break and
Anyway,
let me ask that you return at 1:15. Is that convenient? Okay, please don't read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial. And any questions? Thank you.
Oh, I
So how long is
literally
this break?
just
You
sent
rang?
you a text saying, "Where are you?" Like,
Hello!
literally just now.
Good day.
Hey, Chandler, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Happy to see you.
Yeah, you too.
We've met, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Good morning. You're not set up for your stream yet.
Yeah, it should be up.
Really? Huh. 'Cause I can't find you in the list of things to feed into. Perhaps I just have to search for you.
Fabulous. Hang on. Yeah, it's there. Although I set it up for like an hour from now, but I should probably change that.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, you should definitely change that. I'm just sticking around for another hour. You two can do whatever you want, but I got an early morning. Then I've got to start getting my liver all prepared for a ridiculous drink-a-thon.
I'll change that to. Change the date minutes from now. That should give us enough time.
That's not it. Nothing's going on in court. They're just kind of standing there. There's no audio. The audio's been cut already. Absent-minded. WTF is this? Could you be a little more specific? What is this of which you are speaking of? The trial? The guy here in the bottom? What are you talking about?
There it is.
Oh, Chandler, where'd you go?
Right.
Chandler, come back. The trials. Well, for those of you that are watching this and have no clue what you're watching, let me give you a very, very brief overview. This is the trial of Zachariah Anderson. He's been accused of stalking his girlfriend and his ex-girlfriend, and stalking his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend, placing tracking devices such as cell phones and listening devices and other things to keep track of her and eavesdrop on her and spy on her. And then he was so enraged, he became so overwhelmed by jealousy for the new boyfriend that he allegedly deleted the new boyfriend, killed him with blunt force trauma so bad that the entire house looked like it had been painted red with blood from the inside. And they said that there's a small throw rug that appeared to be missing because there's a void in the blood in the room. And there's no body, no DNA found anywhere near the defendant. No blood found with the defendant. No bloody clothes found. No murder weapon found. Like I said, no body found. Yeah, and basically no real evidence so far. So that's what that is the trial. This is the trial, and it's in Wisconsin. And Judge Schroeder, who handled the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, is the judge in this case. That's the quick rundown of what you're watching. And Kaiser Pineapple, Aussie Overlaw'd. Hey man, good to see you. And peeps, go check out Kaiser Pineapple. He's got a young channel. Wow, what's that? What is that noise?
Oh, that's my mom is packing something. Sorry.
Okay. No.
I can mute myself if I need to.
No worries.
So sorry.
No ton of playing. I almost get the feeling you don't believe this, Jeff. You're not the only one. Yeah, and check out Kaiser Pineapple's channel. He's got a great new little channel. Just hit 100 subscribers and did a really, really interesting stream on the paranormal today. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Aussie Overlaw'd, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. Did I miss anything in the last 3 hours?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what we'll do. We'll I'll sort of review what we've talked about, then we can hear what Chandler thinks about all of it.
Mm-hmm.
This trial seems like a waste of time and resources. There's no evidence so far. Well, exactly. You know, the state has to prove. You're excused, Chandler. It was tape, people. Chandler Remington is the name of an 80s action hero, so she's automatically cool in my book. Flux. Hi, Chandler's mom.
Thank you, Isaac Baruch's. Wait, Baruch's wholesome gabagool art. I'll tell her you say hi.
Yeah, Flux is saying hi to the mom. I know. Kaiser Pineapple's been here the whole time. I know. This is just the first time there was a long enough break to say that was a pretty darn cool supernatural paranormal 3.5 hour show you did earlier today. That was the first time I got to
check that out. That sounds great.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Chandler's guilty.
of
Chandler Remington would be a great name for a hotel too. Already rating it 5 stars.
Oh, so I'm so glad everybody thinks I have a cool name. Hopefully hopefully the content of my character and my contributions to this channel will live up to the coolness of my name. So it would be a cool name for a hotel.
It would. All right, so here let me give you the overview of things that were done today that I found particularly noteworthy. But first, let's clear the super chats. Wild Red, I think what we have here is rug theft gone wrong. Hey man, but it really tied the room together.
Well, maybe they pulled the rug out from under him and he hit his head on a table on the way down. We don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well,
yes, I was going to say that, but I like the Big
like,
Lebowski reference better.
Opinion, man.
That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It is. It's highly quotable.
Anyway, trial stuff.
I get sidetracked easily. Timothy Schultz says $20 super chat. Thank you so much. If my memory serves me right, the actor who played as Blackula was the king of cartoon on Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Mm-hmm.
You are absolutely correct. William Marshall, who
true.
played Blackula in the all the exploitation films of the 70s, was the king of cartoon on Pee-wee's Playhouse. Please stop with the pop culture stuff. I can't afford super chats. Stingy, the phrase that oop eep gurt gurt guac bleh, was apparently the phrase from the Transformers Universal Greeting. Now that's stretching. I don't know that that's what.
I knew what he was talking about. Never mind.
No, what'd you say?
Ba wap gree wa wa geep ba wa geep. Ninny bop.
Yeah, but he actually spelled it out, and I'm just not buying it.
NG.
Yeah. Okay. Anywho, Wild Red asked Chandler if she believes in equal rights, equal fights.
I don't know if I've heard it quite phrased that way before, so I'm going to have to look that up and get back to you.
What do you mean by equal rights, equal fights, Wild Red 1905?
Oh, there's been a heap of them on going across Twitter.
Like dudes and chicks fighting each other?
Yeah, one I saw last night was there was a
or like the stupid cows that smack the guys and are really freaked out when a fist comes barreling back at them.
Or more to the point when there's
equal rights, equal deaths is what I've heard.
That works too. The one that I saw last night was there was a girl and a guy getting into a fight. The girl lost, and basically her friend came in and sucker punched him from the side. And people were surprised.
Okay, so we're not
his
talking
friend
like
then got
organized UFC type fights where you just get like some massively. Okay, oh yeah, so this is just like the girl that eggs the guy on, slaps the dude across the face, he wipes her out, and then everybody's like, "You can't hit a girl," that kind of thing. Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. I believe in self-defense. I will say that. I think that in general,
if you're going to throw down, I believe if you are going to throw down and cause the fight, you can expect to cop one as well. Frankly,
I think if you are female and you are the aggressor and your target is a male person, that person has the right to defend himself, but he will be lambasted and probably charged, and she will probably get away with it just based on our criminal system. So unfortunately, I would advise men to not hit back, even though they have the right to, and they should be able to defend themselves. But that's not always, situations are dynamic and changing. I believe that self-defense is a really important aspect of, just the legal justice system. And especially in domestic violence instances, men need to be able to defend themselves because women can be vicious.
And Isaac Baruch's Wholesome Gabagool Art says, first multi-day weekend of the year. Props for having the trial going. Looks fun. Also, hello, Chandler. Welcome to the fun. Awaiting your insights. Excalibur Triple Z. Would you aim for the birthmark every time? Moving right along. Let's see. Base Chandler. All right. I guess that's all we're caught up on all the super chats.
Good feedback.
So there we go.
So as far as the trial,
yes,
I feel like there have been some interesting establishments of, I think that the defense is very credible and excellent at objecting. I think we have a really good couple of teams. How do you feel about it, Jeff?
Well, first, I want to catch up Aussie on what happened so we can talk more about it in a little detail. One thing, Judge Schroeder has been really, really lengthy in his explanations of how he handles objections and how things happen in court. To a fault, he's been extremely verbose in it, and he even took time to explain why he was talkative about it. He said, "So the Court of Appeals doesn't always agree with me, and so I just want on the record exactly what my thinking was when I ruled on this objection, so that if there's any appeals, the court knows exactly what I was thinking," which I thought was interesting.
Sounds like he's expecting this one to go to the Court of Appeals as well, I suppose, which makes sense given the animosity that we've seen between the parties previously.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, this is the first witness by the defense. I guess I can get his name off here. Detective Lauren Anschutz. He's one of the detectives. He wasn't the first detective on the scene. He was just kind of a random detective that showed up at some point. One thing that the defense made on their opening, she finished her opening, luckily, today. She mentioned that the lights were out when the police came, which again implies that because this murder happened at night, apparently, someone must have turned the lights out. But they said there was no swabbing of the light switches for DNA or fingerprints. If you remember, they found the credit cards and money and stuff inside the freezer in the back, weirdly. So there was no processing of the freezer handle or the credit cards in the freezer. There was no processing of the chairs, tables, or sofas in the area. There were some tools by the sliding doors. And no tools were processed for fingerprints. There was an open bedroom window. Nobody processed for fingerprints. They only processed the victim's blood. Yes, essentially there was no other attempt to find any evidence of DNA or fingerprints or anything at the site, apparently.
So cops doing a bang up job, as we can expect. Gotcha.
So again, one of those, we think we know who did it, and we'll get to that in a minute. So we think we know who did it, so we don't really have to search for anything else. Okay. And then so the detective took the stand. And he said that he had heard before he got to the scene that there was a substantial amount of blood and that no body had been located. And weirdly, they kept calling, like they were asking about the doors and if you could see around the corners, and there's some stairs that come down, and they kept talking about the peephole in the door. They kept calling it an eye hole, and it was really, really annoying me because I was just hearing a hole because I'm 12 years old. Did you look in the eye hole?
I was just thinking Rick and Morty, like where are my eye holes? Get up on out of here with my eye holes. But then I was like, oh wait, no, isn't that guy like maybe canceled and maybe not? So like maybe we shouldn't be making Rick and Morty references. I don't know. Everybody's canceled. Louis C.K. You made a Louis C.K. reference. That guy's it's like everybody's. I mean, honestly, at this point, it's like, I had to just say the eye holes bit. Anyway, it was a peephole.
Yeah. Do you know who Bert Kreischer is, Ozzy?
Oh yes, the machine.
I'm the machine. Yeah, the witness on the stand looks like if Bert Kreischer and Louis C.K. had a love child.
Okay. And there's something about him. There's something about him too. His temperaments. He seems very unsettled. There's a look on his face. His eyes are kind of bugging out of his head.
He does these wild eye things.
It's like 1,000-yard stare, like he's seen some shit, like he's flashing back to Nom. Like it's kind of intense. I don't know what it is. It's a lot. Is it just you were kind of alluding to that? I don't know if you interpreted it the same way.
It wasn't a pee hole, it was a peephole. And it was not a glory hole, Tigger. Stop. But no, it's like me and at least one other person in chat were on the same wavelength, because I was just getting ready to say it when someone chatted it. It's like he doesn't really feel comfortable in his skin, and I was thinking the same thing. Is like the cockroach guy in Men in Bad that Vincent D'Onofrio plays, and it really reminded me of him. just this
Okay.
twitchy kind of weird, wild-eyed guy that just. I mean, it's nothing obvious. He just doesn't sit well. There's just something off about him.
Okay. So
And he's not
fidgety
giving
and
bad
he's-
answers or anything. He's just twitchy.
Yeah.
I guess that's the only way.
He seems like he does not want to be there. He seems bewildered, I guess, is the look on his face. That's the best word I could use to describe it. And he's a detective, and he's investigated hundreds of cases, but you wouldn't know it. Like he doesn't seem like an expert witness who was there to give his expert opinion. He seems like frightened or emotional somehow. So it's jarring. It's a little jarring.
Okay, so it's almost as if, despite the fact that he's done hundreds of cases, it's his first time testifying, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Feels that way.
Okay.
Unhung Hero says, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid." One of the greatest movies ever made, A Christmas Story.
Fantastic. No, but there's something really odd about the interaction between him and the DA because, prosecution, there's something about this guy. So he's yelling into the mic a lot. He's very intense with like his, he's just loud and he's fidgety also. And so the interaction between these two guys it's like there's something unsettling about this particular engagement. It's the first witness and already I'm like uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's distracting from the evidence and from what they're talking about, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's not anything weird or wrong about the testimony or the evidence. It's just not meshing somehow.
Right.
It's just, it sounds stupid, but there's just bad vibes.
Well, it's a bad set. I think it's bad prep because the order that he's asking the questions. So first he asks him questions. How did he start out? Out about like kind of the physical layout, I think, of the location. We're seeing some pictures. And then he starts in immediately asking questions about witnesses that he encountered and what he thought they were feeling and whether they were scared or worried. And so we get a lot of objections from defense saying he can't testify to that, numerous, rules that, and then Schroeder got into some interesting explanations and some interesting answers.
Yeah.
Right.
And we saw they're showing most of the pictures apparently. Most
we can
of the
see them.
evidentiary pictures.
It's nice to have a visual element because you don't always get that.
You'll remember from the prosecutor's opening this time and a year ago, Hayden, that they said that literally every square foot of that house was coated in blood. That
it looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. Yep.
Yeah, except for the void where the rug that's missing was. He said there was pools of blood on the carpet. There was a rectangle space with no blood where the missing on the carpet. There's a blank space on the carpet where there was no blood, where the rug was taken from. So there was blood everywhere in multiple rooms. The floors were covered. Several of the walls were covered with blood. Several parts of the ceiling were covered with blood. And then they showed a picture that just showed like a mild sized blood spot on the carpet with like a small trail leading off from it.
Yeah, there was a little pool of blood, but it was sort of like, it was the one photo that we saw from the interior of the residence, and it was not what they described. And so I feel like if you're going to you have to be accurate in your description, and you have to show photos that are going to be representative of the scene. And so if that was the wrong angle, like if there was really like blood all over the place when you turn the camera this way, they should have shown that. But unfortunately, they showed the part of the room that really doesn't look very bloody. And so it sounded like either exaggeration or it's like, we're not seeing what they're describing. And I love that we were able to see the photo, because if we couldn't see it, that's a big moment for the jury where they're like, they're not seeing it, but we're thinking, oh God, there's blood everywhere and they must be traumatized. So I'm glad that we were able to see the photos and that the exhibits were published not only to the jury, but also, to the network so that we could get a look. I'd like to see more photos. Maybe there are other photos of more blood elsewhere, but it just didn't look bad. It looked like somebody like hit her head or whatever.
It's like I was saying, the description of this was like the scene in the original Nightmare on Elm Street where Johnny Depp gets sucked into the bed and then this giant continuous 30-second spout of blood paints the room red.
That's exactly what they're describing. So it's so the photo evidence itself shows nothing along those lines.
No. Okay. Well, actually, let me Let me see
You
if
have
we
to
can
see
just
it
scroll back
for
to it.
yourself. It's not what they're describing. I was picturing that scene in Dexter where he opens up the door and like there's blood that just comes
Yeah.
gushing out of this hotel room, you
Yeah.
know, that sort of thing. Not
Or
getting
like
that.
the elevator on The Shining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Unhung Hero asks, but was there brain water? So what time did you schedule your stream to start, Ozzy?
About 5 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. Sorry.
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
No, I moved it forward. I had it at 6 because I wasn't sure what time lunch was going to be. But what I'll start doing is I'll start setting it for 5 a.m. my time now so that it's just there for whenever they go for lunch.
All right, let's see. See if we can find this scrolling back here. Guess the house.
Mm-hmm.
It was after that, right?
Yes, it was. It was after the house. They had a side view of the house, the
It's the
interior view with the mailbox,
entryway.
entryway. Eventually, they do get to that
Well, see,
interior shot.
This is the
They might
guy.
have
Let's
shown
kind of
the
watch
wallet.
him.
You understand my question?
Go again. Sorry.
Sure. If somebody is
He's just
crouching
weird and twitchy.
or attempting not to be
See what I mean? Louis C.K. and Burt Kreischer had a love child.
I can actually see that, yeah.
seen and they're in the area of the mailboxes,
We don't need to care about the
Opens
mailbox
that-
testimony. More mailbox things. It's him giving a sermon in church.
There's something weird about the holding of the microphone by the witness that I'm like, why isn't it just on the stand for them? Like,
Yeah,
it
we're
seems
just
like he's
waiting for
really
karaoke.
he's really clutching it, and I'm just
So yeah, oh yeah, and the drawing of the house is on like third grader wide ruled paper.
It looks like my
Oh,
plans for
good
my
God.
future bedroom from when I was like 9. Honestly,
Yeah,
I can see it. Is that?
yeah.
I mean that's like mega hyper wide ruled.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
is.
It looks like what I do when I'm planning out something in Minecraft, for God's sakes.
Okay, here it is.
There we are. Here we go. Look, take a look at
Okay.
this and tell me, is this a nightmare?
That's it.
Where's the blood?
On the
Oh, that
So
would
you
be
look
this little
towards
bit
right
here on the
there.
I
floor.
was being facetious. Oh,
Yeah, that'd be that little bit here on the floor. And there's his wallet on the sofa.
uh-huh.
This is the living room.
it's the only
That
shot
looks
of the room.
nothing like the scene that was described.
No.
Maybe they're building up to it. I mean, maybe when you pivot the camera, it's all on the other side. But he said there was blood on the back of the couch. I don't see that.
All of the floors, all of the, like several walls, several ceilings.
Hang on, what's the
Yeah,
timestamp on that?
That is 1 hour and 42 minutes from then. So we have to do the adding here.
Oh, there it is. Hang on.
I do see an edge there, so it does look like a carpet might have been moved, but it's hard to tell. It's not a great picture.
Okay.
He said there was blood all over that little table too. I don't see any blood on the table.
Yeah,
I'd
no,
like
I
more
don't see any-
photos.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
see
pulling
any
it
of
up in
this.
full screen. It does look like there's
Yeah.
more blood on that floor than would appear on the screen there.
Oh, hang on.
And I can see a bit of discoloration on that couch that could be blood, but it looks like it may
Look-
have been washed.
Like right there?
No, so on the top of the left-hand
Like
pillow
there?
in the center,
Oh.
yeah.
Mhm.
That
does
just looks
look
like an
that could
indentation.
be-
Looking on my 53-inch monitor here, that just sort of looks like an indentation from where someone was sitting.
To me, it looks like somebody took a Clorox wipe and was wiping something off of the top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I think it looks like. I think it's so there's a bit right in the middle towards the top. It looks like there might be a
Yeah.
wipe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like it's necessarily bloody.
Yeah, but this
It's-
isn't a horror scene that we were led to believe.
No, not from this
Oh,
angle
and
at
that's-
least.
Hang on. That's the
Hmm.
void where the carpet was supposedly removed because that
Yep.
looks.
Like right here.
See?
What
Yeah, you
the
can see
hell
it.
are they talking about? This is not what they described.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. So, like this, because that's a 90-degree angle right there.
Yeah,
So you're thinking like the carpet was here.
yeah.
In this
And if
area.
you move no, because I'm thinking off slightly to the right from where you had the mouse. Then because if you
Like
look,
here?
the carpet there looks cleaner than the rest of the carpet, which was
Yeah.
what you'd expect if there's a mat or something.
But this is a 90-degree angle right here.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the carpet, it would make sense for the carpet to be in front of the sofa rather than in the middle of the room, I think.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
Anyway.
wherever it is, it's not just soaked in blood, and they described it as a void in the blood where the where the rug had been.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate and venture to guess that they want to lead the jury in to seeing the the forensic photos, and they might be starting off with the least graphic or shocking, and there might be blood in the rest of the room. I don't know. I'm just saying we can't see
I
the
was gonna
whole
say,
room.
There's got to be more. There's got to be more photos to this. I want to see one
Yeah.
taken from that. I'd like to see a photo taken from that doorway, looking out.
Yeah. Indigo Luna says, "I've seen more blood while on my." Well, never mind.
Well, it's not The Shining, that's for sure.
It's very disappointing.
Oh, women, stop! That's a menstruation mishap. Come on, people. No.
The way they were describing it, I was expecting the scene from Carrie.
Yeah. Well, and there's more. Now you'll remember they said that there was a mysterious patch of carpet from the van missing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, draw that picture for me in your head. Someone says, "Oh, there's a patch of carpet missing from the van." What image does that give you?
Like floor mat sized piece of carpet's been cut out or something along those lines? How big is it?
Fair enough. Well, there's a picture. That's his wallet on the sofa. Oh, where's the? Yeah.
This is such a much more interesting trial than other trials I've been watching recently.
This is true.
There are visuals. The prosecutor is competent, even though he yells. The defense attorney is very competent. She's raised some great objections. She brought up the Hazeltine rule, which states you can't. Well, I can go into that after we look at the back of the van. I'll tell you afterwards.
This is it here. It's just like a third of the van, like any shitty work van would look like this, I think.
Yeah,
Mysterious. I don't know about mysterious. When I think of mysterious, I think of like a random chunk taken out of the middle in like an odd shape, like a like a weird like flat kind of like a round or a.
And I was thinking maybe like this big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of like we'd expect is if there was a blood stain or something, you've cut it out with a Stanley knife or something. That looks more like they've had something heavy, something that was caught on the carpet or something, and they've just taken it out to make things easier. That's
it's a work van where they demolish houses and you can store paint back there and whatnot. It's been ripped out and finally they just tore it out, kind of thing. The prosecution is just painting pictures that when you see the actual pictures, they don't match up, and then you get this twitchy guy that doesn't match up with himself testifying about it. It's just all coming off as weird.
Yeah,
and that looks like my uncle's a contractor and that looks like the back of his van. That's a normal modification if you're, you putting materials that are going to mess up the carpeting. There's nothing abnormal about it. It doesn't. I don't.
No, we lost your audio, Chandler. Are you still there?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now you're back.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, you just kind of cut out. We lost the last sentence.
Okay, I'm gonna have to upgrade again. It's okay. We'll work on it.
Legal Vice says absent-minded says the oblong pool is where the head landed and leaked under the rug. Yeah, could be.
We don't know. We don't have a body, so we don't really know where the blood came from. We don't know what part of the body was bleeding. That's kind of a stretch.
Now, see, chat for these things is normally very pro-prosecution at the beginning. But you guys are coming off as very pro-defense, which is interesting. I mean, it's coming off as another frame up by the DA, assuming you're talking about the Rittenhouse one. My husband's work vehicle looks much worse than that. Hope he hasn't offed anyone. And also, every single workman friend that I have, painters, contractors, whatever, that's what all of their vans look like. The carpet just gets ratty, and at some point you go, screw it. Or you just deliberately go, look, I'm going to be storing paint, chemicals, liquids back here, and I don't want it in the carpet, so I'm just going to take that chunk of the carpet out.
Yep.
It just doesn't match up what they're talking about.
Well,
Isaac Bruce, wholesome gabagool art, says, I've watched enough trials now to know the states are lying liars who lie until proven otherwise. And exactly, everyone should be pro-defense at the start.
Thank you, Spike. That's an unpopular but important opinion that I think people should learn to adopt, especially seeing how people have acted about Murdaugh. So,
and Flux says we're pro-defense because fuck the state. Exactly. See if there's anything else we can get you over there. It's the missing carpet. Yeah, it's the entire back third of the van.
Well, do you want to talk about? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Do I want to talk about what?
Do you want to talk about this line of questioning? The way that I mean, personally, I think what I've focused on more is the way that prosecution has set up this line of questioning for this witness. The kind of questions he's asking, I don't know where he's headed with it, but he continues to ask this witness about when he arrives to the scene, all the things that he does and the people that he interacts with. He has witnesses. He has the ex-girlfriend. He has a friend who showed up who was concerned. And for some reason, the DA keeps asking him questions about how so they start with Sadie, the ex-girlfriend, and how she seemed. And he says she seemed worried. She seemed scared. She said
was scared for her kids.
And he made this statement and he repeated hearsay from her that I know that the defendant had something to do with this. And so that at that point came an objection by the defense. And they argued that it was an excited utterance, essentially. Defense ended up saying, well, no, it can't have been because he was not the first detective on the scene. There were multiple other detectives who interacted with the ex-girlfriend. So for it to be an excited utterance, it should have occurred with one of the first detectives who interviewed her. How did Schroeder rule on that, by the way? Did he strike that from the record? Because I feel like to say, I know that Zachariah had something to do with this.
If I recall, he let it in.
Okay, so and then didn't they also discuss it in front of the jury?
Yeah, they're doing all these lengthy speaking objections in front of the jury.
And then Schroeder is explaining how he's ruling, and he's taking like 7 paragraphs to do it basically every time. I like it. It's compelling, and he's doing it for the prosecution, for the defense, and also for the jury and for the gallery. And I think he's doing it just for the record, essentially, obviously because he feels that an appeal is imminent. But defense continues to object about this line of questioning from the prosecutor. And it's fair because at one point they ask a question about, okay, I'm trying to remember, it was with Campbell. Prosecution asked about this guy Campbell, who was a friend of the victim, who showed up to the scene and said, hey, my friend hasn't texted me for a couple of days. I'm getting concerned about him. And basically, the detective starts going off about how I found him very credible. He continued to answer questions. He explained at length, he seemed like he was telling the truth, sort of. And then that's where an important objection comes in by the defense. The defense says, based on Hazeltine, which is a Wisconsin case, the objection essentially boiled down to that the jury should not be relying on an expert witness's opinion of whether another person, another witness who's not on the stand, was telling the truth. The jury should use their eyes and ears to determine the truth, like how credible that witness is when that witness is on the stand. So the second-hand observation by that expert witness should not be something that the jury is relying upon. So she correctly, objected with Hazeltine. But interestingly, and I hope I'm not going, too long on this. I hope this is easy to follow. Interestingly, Schroeder kind of overlooked it, and he told the defense attorney that, well, I'm sorry, but you opened the door to this, essentially, in your opening statement by discussing these specific witnesses and, mentioning them and bringing up their credibility, as I believe. Did he? No, I was not here for the opening statement, so I don't know exactly what she said about Campbell or about Sadie, the ex-girlfriend. But does that sound accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that was one interesting thing too. Is I mean, just weird kind of fishy thing. The guy hasn't been heard from in 2 days, and while the police were there, like 3 different people just randomly showed up, concerned that they hadn't heard from him.
Yeah.
The ex-girlfriend and like 2 other guys showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
sure, nothing
odd.
sus there.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of that.
Weird. Because it's like, I mean, literally everybody in chat and myself was saying like, how come nobody in my life shows up? If like nobody shows up, if I don't hear from me for 2 days, they think, oh, he's busy, or
Like, I'm a likable guy. I don't reckon I'd have 3 people showing up on my doorstep just because I didn't contact them for 2 days. Like, seriously.
My cats would eat me before my friends would come knocking at my door.
That's my that's my line. You know,
And I'm very loved. I have a lot of friends, but like most of them are like out of the country. So
yeah, if I happen to just stroke out and die here, the first anyone will know is the neighbors will complain of the smell, and they'll come in and they'll find out my dogs have eaten very, very well in my absence.
speaking of, I saw whichever dog that is on the couch moving, and I was like, "Oh God, it's Jeff's haunted house." I'm terrified. I don't know what's going on. There's like a specter in the background there.
Yeah, no, it's just my fat old English bulldog. What's up, Strawberry? What's up,
Strawberry's
baby?
a,
What's up, baby
a
girl?
guest host.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, should we let you get your show on there, Aussie?
All right, I'll get set up. Actually, I should probably try and fix. Is my camera being like? Is it going in and out of focus? I switched over to the EOS, so I'm a little bit paranoid.
Not that I've noticed. Looks good to me.
Excellent.
Well, what's going to happen here is when I end this stream, Aussie will go live on his stream, and I got to get up early because the stupid cleaning lady's coming. She always comes early, like every second Friday.
What time is it? Early. What time is it where you are?
Right now, it's for me it is 3:43 a.m. and for Hayden it's 5:43 a.m.
You guys are pros. I wouldn't be able to. I mean, I did get up at 4.
You wake up at 4, so you're just weird.
Not every day. I mean, I've been letting myself sleep in a little bit more lately, and I think I'm gonna need a little extra sleep. But I'm always happy to be up early for OJ, running OJ. So.
Yeah. So when
I try not to yawn.
we had 10 new members during the stream. I guess someone gifted some memberships. Whoever that was, thanks.
Fabulous.
Look, XComer gifted 5 memberships, and Crafty Florida lady, Crafty Flaw lady gifted 5 Legal Vices memberships. Wow, thank you so much. I've got all the super chats. Now's your last chance to get any in if you want. Let's I guess did I accidentally shut down the poll at some point? No. We'll shut down the poll. Today's like and subscribe poll. 23% of you said I hit the like and subscribe button like Binger getting brazen. 37% of you said you hit the like and subscribe like Judge Schroeder getting angry. And I hit the like and subscribe with 40% of you saying the defense lawyer crushing opening. I like this defense lawyer. She is sharp. She's aggressive. She's not afraid to make objections.
I like her too. She's excellent. And I think that she contains her frustrations easily.
Yeah.
Sebastian, hi. I have a cat making an appearance.
Yeah. Hey, cat. What's up?
I actually have 2 cats sitting next to me, so
that's just the look I get.
Set up.
All right, Aussie's all set up. So have you? I guess he's gone live. All right.
Oh, fabulous! All right. Well, it's been wonderful as always.
Well, it's been fun, Chandler.
Yes, it has.
We'll send you the link tomorrow if you got time.
What's tomorrow?
The trial.
Oh, this, yeah. I'd love to come on again. I'm in. I'm interested.
Yeah, it sucks being alone.
Oh, I would love to join. I'd be very happy to.
Natalie Wisco says she'll probably be able to make it at some point for a little bit during the day tomorrow. And a couple of other people have said Who else has said? Of course, someone she said she'll be here as well.
All right. What time do we start
dirty.
again tomorrow? Do you know?
Starts 9 a.m. Central, so it's 7 a.m. your time.
All right, that's a little more doable than 4. I mean, I could do it at 4 if I if I made myself.
Yeah, not me.
Yeah, so I'd love to join.
I gotta go home and sleep for a couple hours.
Yeah, go to bed, get some rest. It's been fun. Always love doing OJ with you. We'll do it next week. I will very likely, like 99%, be here tomorrow. So awesome.
All right, sounds great. And for those of you that know Danny on direct, she said she might be able to be here at some point. So we'll just kind of play it, and we'll do it until right about this same time, and then I'll go to sleep for 5 or 6 hours. Then we will start the legendary Fuck It Friday stream, and we have a new latecomer to the I agree to be on during the show, the one and the only 250,000 subscriber, that Star Wars girl. She'll be here.
Fabulous. She's great. I love her.
Yeah, she said that she will be here as well.
That'll be a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to Fuck It Friday. We're gonna have a lot of fun. You got great guests. I'm happy to be one of them, and yeah, it's gonna be great. This is my first Fuck It Friday, so I'm sure I'm gonna go get some booze and make it count.
and it's what and I encourage like people from the West Coast area, like Mountain and Pacific times, to come in a little bit later, because there's people on the East Coast that come in early, and it's way overbooked. I get 10 people on the screen at once.
Oh, I have I was planning on coming in later tomorrow because I have a thing that ends at 5, and then I have to go home, so I'll be on a couple hours late.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Perfect. I love it.
Let all the olds that have to go to sleep from the Eastern time zone go to sleep. Does that mean you won't be doing this live Friday? No, the trial, Zenith, the trial is in the morning, so we'll do the trial in the morning, and then Friday night U.S. time is my F It Friday stream, and that's just pure monetary grift.
Well,
and again,
a lot of streaming, yeah.
We'll wrap it up and send it on over to Aussie. The guest list so far for I hate when I click on buttons and and I see Eliza Blue and her cleavage pop up on the screen.
No, it's just no.
It's like, gives me the piss shivers. Yeah,
no, I'm not a fan.
I just clicked on it. Just tits out.
Nobody wants to see that.
All right, here's the guest list, and then we'll turn this all over to Aussie. Bring all of your money tomorrow, Friday night. You don't have to bring any money to the morning trial stream. Save it for F It Friday. That's where it's just a total grift. You grift for $100 super chats, whatnot, and all this other crap, and we just get drunk and have fun. Danny on direct, Drex, Ian Runkle from Runkle of the Bailey, Meme Copium from Japan, Nicholas Starov, Viking Extraordinaire, our very own Flux, Steph the Alter Nerd, our own very own Chandler Remington will be here. Law and Lumber, Rob will be here. Ari Jacob, Aussie Overlaw'd, Law of Self-Defense, No Tie, 2 cocktails in, Andrew Bronca, potentially criminal Sean, Steve Gosney, that Star Wars girl. Who else did we say?
Dirty Blonde, my very good friends.
Yep. Legally Dirty Blonde. She'll be here for her newest thing. And the most radical of the guys, Camelot 331, will be here. And as long as he's on stream, $200 super chats will get shots of his famous fight milk, which apparently is eggs, vodka, and milk. We've already front loaded from the Brandon Collective 2 of those, so that should be interesting. All right, that's it. Mods, thank you for being here. Chandler, as always, great to have you here. Awesome. We'll hopefully see you tomorrow for both of the streams. And thanks for all the super chats. Thanks for the best chat ever. We'll see you tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, for more of this trial. And we're going to go over to Aussie right now. It's going to happen automatically. If it doesn't happen automatically, there'll be the little thing at the top of the chat that says go over if you want to. And if that doesn't work, just go search for Aussie Overlaw'd, find his live stream, and go there. See y'all tomorrow. Take care. Law Racks out. Enjoy your legal vices. Bye now.